And we're live, and this is the first time that I'm ever starting a live with Vince already on. Usually, if you've been watching those 4 hour lives, you sometimes see Vince float in at the end of those lives.
It's
But
all
when you start a live this late, that means Vince is available.
yeah.
So happy to have you on, man.
It's only really the hardcores that have ever seen me probably because I'm always on at like 2 in the morning.
This is true. But now it is time for some of the more casual observers to witness the greatness. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I just watched I don't know. I'm in a conundrum right now because my girlfriend was asking me. She's like, "Okay, so who are you rooting for at this point? Because you're a big Jason Tatum fan, but you're obviously Serbian, so you obviously gonna root a little bit for the Nuggets." I gotta say, I don't know who I would root for if those teams were in the finals, but I tell you, I'd sleep real easy knowing that one of those two teams is gonna win the championship. Who are you rooting for
So I'm rooting for Denver. Um,
all the way
like
through, eh? Okay,
I'm rooting for Denver and for Boston to be in the final, and then because I do like Boston's team, I like their players, I like their general ethos as a team, and I just like I think they made all the right moves. I think getting Brogdon was a fantastic move, and I liked the Derek White trade last year a lot. So they sort of like I feel like they just like cherry picked these awesome players, and then the rest of the league kind of turned around and be like, how did Boston get all these fucking really talented players? So I just like the way they put their team together, and none of the players on their team like they just go out and play. They don't have like a Draymond who's just like constantly whining and crying to the refs and flopping and playing dirty. They just
exactly.
like I like all the players on that team, but I like you just gotta like Jokic is just that guy is from another planet. Obviously, Canadian point guard Jamal Murray. I'm just like they've got my attention the most. So I would love for them to win.
I'm actually not opposed to Miami winning one. I know that that franchise has had a lot of championships through
Yeah.
multiple iterations. First with D Wade and Shaq, and then with D Wade and the Heatles. But I wouldn't be opposed to it just to see Jimmy win one. I mean, at this point, as long as the Lakers don't win, and 0-2, I'm not saying it's impossible to come back, but most teams don't. Austin Reeves, amazing.
He's so good.
Like his poise, his charisma, I think it really does show how great Phil Handy is. I think it's a good indictment for, not a good indictment. It's a glowing recommendation for just how great Phil Handy is as a development coach, but also how great Austin Reeves is. I mean, I was just as comfortable with him having the ball in his hands as LeBron having the ball in his hands down the stretch, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I think the Nuggets nearly choked it both times. I mean, there's a lot of self-imposed issues there, from bad passes to that Michael Porter Jr. just stepping over the sideline, which is the second time I've seen a team
Uh,
seen a player do that in like 5 days. I don't think I saw that all year. It's just what is happening. But yeah, I want to talk about a few things on today's live. You've been saying that you've been missing a lot of these lives, and you wanted to get on and talk about a few things. You wanted to talk draft, and of course, in the last draft, well, in the last live yesterday, we talked a lot about Keontae George and how much I love Case and Wallace.
yeah.
But those are guys that are in play at 13. But over the last, so let's say, 48 hours since the draft lottery, we've been seeing a lot of would the Portland Trailblazers move number three to get some immediate help for Dame Lillard?
Yeah.
And there are two players on the Raptors that really do fit what Portland is looking for when they talk about immediate help for Dame Lillard, and that's OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam.
Yes, sir.
Now, there was a Reddit post that came up today, which was really funny, in which someone did a mock trade. Someone sent it to me on Instagram. It was really hilarious. OG Anunoby for, I think it was LeBron James, Dame Lillard, prime Michael Jordan, and an alive Kobe Bryant. And the Raptor fan was like, I don't know. OG's a pretty good defender. Are we overvaluing OG as a fan base? I don't think so. I think he's
I,
great. But I would move off of Pascal for that third pick. Now, here's the irony of ironies. You trade for Jakob Poeltl. You trade multiple picks for Jakob Poeltl in order to basically oust yourself from the same spot that Portland is in right now. And now you potentially have to change. You have to trade the best player on your team just to get that asset back, which is hilarious. And you may actually end up having to trade number 13 in addition to Pascal Siakam to get that number 3, because that number 3, especially if the Hornets go Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson has a lot more value at number 3 than Brandon Miller did. So,
Man, dude, you just outlined the underlying frustration that I've been feeling for the last couple of weeks. It's just like it was further emphasis. Like through the year I was annoyed, but at least the games were going on. You had something to root for. But like, man, when it happened, I'm just like, you should have been Portland. You should have done the exact same thing that Portland did. Now I know you have your general take to tanking is probably not like you're not like all that for it. Is that right?
I think that's a fair assessment. I think if you have a good roster and you have some pieces that you can realistically build around and you can build forward with, I think tanking can sometimes leave a lingering effect on your organization. And I genuinely believe that it can create more harm than good, especially if what happens to you is something similar to what happened to the Detroit Pistons, where you fall 4 spots. And that could happen to anybody, right? Raptors could have finished 3rd, and every team behind them sort of leapfrogs them and they end up at 6th, right? It could have happened. And then suddenly you're not feeling so hot about your 20-win season and everyone's upset. And, players in a contract year, it's always going to be hard to convince them to tank. Always going to be hard because their market value is going to go down. And you're going to have to basically give them a guarantee that we're going to sign you to this crazy amount of money that you would have been otherwise able to get if we actually were competitive this year. It's a difficult thing to sell a team with so many players on different contracts. But when you are in the situation that San Antonio Spurs are in, where you can sort of selectively, you've been sort of competitive and you time it like this, then I'm for it. And what the Spurs did was just excellent. I mean, they basically spent a year and a half dealing all their assets away. You talked about Derek White. They dealt him. They dealt a very good player who can start for most teams in the league right now. They traded Thaddeus Young, who wasn't really playing for them, and they somehow got a 1st-round pick for him because the Raptors are insane. I can feel the pain on your face right there. They traded a starting center in Jakob Poeltl, who, quite frankly, they replaced him pretty quickly. They got multiple 1st-round picks back. They got a 1st-round pick and multiple seconds back for that. They also traded DeJounte Murray. They got 3 picks, I believe, for him. So that's basically that's your entire core. I believe they also did a sign and trade with the Chicago Bulls to get Thaddeus Young, in which case I think they also got a 1st-round pick in that exchange. Correct me if I'm wrong, for DeMar DeRozan. So they basically spent 2.5 years just slowly parting out all their rotation pieces. And if the Raptors had followed suit and done something very similar, but how do we feel about this multi-year getting rid of DeJounte, DeRozan, Jakob, which is a competitive team, man? Let's be honest, that team's probably a play-in or playoff team, not one with a high ceiling. But how would we feel about that if they don't get Victor? How would we feel about that if they get the 5th pick? Maybe we don't feel so great, but the thought that counts, right? So I would feel perfectly fine. But yeah, in general, I'm not a go tank every single year. If I was a Philadelphia fan during the process, I probably would have hung myself.
Right. Well, hindsight 2020. I guess. I guess people. I think Philly fans are lining themselves up to hang themselves right now. Well, maybe. So normally I would agree with you. In previous years, I would agree with you, but not this year.
Okay.
This draft is so deep, and I have a feeling that this is going to be one of, if not the marquee drafts of all time.
All time.
What?
Up there with 96.
Yes.
2003.
Yes. Just in the way of how many guys there are that look like game changers. And
okay.
I don't think it's stretching it to say that there could be 10-ish all-stars in this draft.
Wow. 10 all-stars.
I know 10 sounds like a big number, but look.
There are 24 all-stars in a year.
I mean, let's start like we'll say one-time All-Stars, at least 10 one-time All-Stars.
So
Now, like
Fred VanVleet, okay.
right,
Antonio Davis, Theo Ratliff, I got you. I got you. Jamal McGlure, I got you. Okay. I mean that's bold, man. That's bold. 10 is a lot. I don't see 10 All-Stars here, but I could be wrong. Like okay, like I'm willing to hear you. Who are your 10 All-Stars? I'm
okay,
curious.
top three, right? We don't know that Brandon Miller is going to be anything, right? Maybe Brandon Miller is Paul George. Maybe he's I don't know who
Hey,
is a
I don't think he's Paul
Brand.
George, man.
I don't know like
Uh,
who is a tall wing that couldn't score that well at the basket, but had a lethal 3-point shot. Whoever that was.
Rashard Lewis.
Sure, Rashard Lewis was an All-Star, right? He's he's very very good, right?
Yeah, he was a max player. How many All-Star teams did he make though? I don't remember off the top of my head, but it does not feel like he made more than one. He was always on the cusp. Like he was
Right,
always on the cusp. He was always like the 30th best player
right.
in the league. And that was kind of when talent was a little bit watered down, but he was a hell of a talent for sure. And probably would be a lot better if he played in today's NBA, given, how much we've gone towards tall wings, and he'd probably be a 4-5 combo at this point, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Right.
Okay, so you got the top three as all stars. Who are your next seven, potentially one time all stars?
So I love the first like I love the next bunch of guards in this draft, right? So I love Amin Thompson, Casey,
Okay.
Kobe Bufkin, Anthony Black, and is there one guy that I'm missing? I don't have a list in front of me, so I'm just taking off the top of my head right now.
Keontae, Jordan Hawkins.
I'm not ready to go there on Keontae George just yet. Although he looks like he has the tools that could make it, right? Like you could easily see a guy with that kind of bag making at least one All-Star team, if not multiple.
Could
Um,
also see him in Taiwan and potentially China in like 3 years.
True, but now and we so I those four for sure, or
Hmm.
not for sure they're going to make All-Star teams, but they look like they pop. When I don't try to say that like I watch film on these guys, but we'll say there's so much draft coverage nowadays that it makes it pretty easy to like scout what kind of games these guys have and what their flaws are and how they can work to get better and there's sort of a in the same way that we were able to kind of see Scottie's growth, all
Hmm.
these little videos that come up with about all these guys that sort of show their upbringing, show their path that they've made it to get to where they are,
Hmm.
and just a lot of guys coming from humble beginnings, and seeing like, yeah, this guy looks like he's worked really hard. He came from poverty. He's stuck with his craft, and now he's about to enter an amazing draft. And
Okay, I'm curious because like we've heard some very very good things about 2021, right? Which was the Scottie, Cade, Jalen Green, Jones Suggs, Evan Mobley draft, and there was a lot of talk about that being the best draft since 2003. And the jury is still out on that one because to date, the best player from that draft is probably Evan Mobley, Scottie, Franz, and none of these guys right now are anywhere close to what LeBron and Melo were after their rookie seasons.
right,
So that being said, I think it would be a fair thing. And hey, we didn't hear a lot about 2022 is so great, but 2022 is turning out to be a pretty damn good draft, right?
mhm,
So far, Paolo, Jalen Williams. You could even throw our he who shall not be named for the Utah Jazz. We're not going to talk about him. We're not going to talk about him, but you could throw him in there as probably you can peg that guy down as the starting center in the NBA for the next 14 years, and probably he'll make an All Star team at some point because why the hell not? And then there's a lot of other players that frankly just were good, like really good, like Keegan Murray. You can make a case for Jaden Hardy. You can make a case for Jalen Duren. There's so many players in last year's draft where it's like, wow, is 2022 technically so far kind of maybe better than 21 draft? Because so far, maybe you can make a
awesome.
case. They're comparable. Definitely not the hype. So worth mentioning. I'm pretty sure you're going to take Victor Wembanyama. Like, let's just play this out. let's do a draft. Just a top five, top six. I just want to see where you're at with this.
Okay.
2021, 2022, 2023, all those prospects, build a time machine. They're all suddenly coming into the draft. So you have Scottie Barnes, 19 years old, Florida State. You have Cade Cunningham, 19 years old, okay, Oklahoma State. Um, you have Evan Mobley coming out of USC. You have Paolo Banchero coming out. Okay, so you got all these guys, and you got Wembanyama, and you got Scoot, and you got. I want to know now where Brandon Miller's going relative to these guys. So I'm gonna assume you're gonna
Right.
take Wemby number one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Who are you taking number two?
Um. Okay. I've pulled them up here just to give myself a little bit of reference.
Okay, cool.
Um.
I love these lives with you because they always go into a draft or a list, and I love it.
So I think I might still go Scoot. Like even over.
Scoot over Mobley.
I don't.
Tough.
Scoot looks fucking good.
Okay. And isn't it funny that you would take him over Mobley, Scottie, Cade, you would take him over Paolo, and the Hornets might take Brandon Miller over him. That
They're
is
not.
insanity to me.
They're not going to do that.
D-
MJ can't do that. Fuck. I
Dude,
don't.
like that team is up for sale. I mean, look, we'll get into Scoot at some point. We're going to talk about Scoot and Scottie and that fit, but you would take Scoot over these guys. Yikes. I don't
I would.
know, man.
I would put. I would definitely put some deep thought into it. But we'll say my next tier would be Scoot, Scottie, and Mobley. Those would be my next my next three.
You would not include Paolo in that tier. You would not include
I think I would put Paolo in the next tier down.
okay. I think
Right.
that's fair. I mean, look, like I think
Oh, there's even
hmm.
we haven't even seen Chet play yet. He might be really good. Like fuck.
Yo, and we haven't even talked about Şengün.
Or
Um like there's so many players, but that's interesting that you would put Scoot in a sort of tier above. Look, I think he's special. I really do. I think his pairing with Scottie would be great. I would really like I keep talking about Tyrese Maxey with Scottie Barnes.
right.
Why do I like that matchup? Because Tyrese can play off the ball.
Right.
Because Tyrese can get downhill. Because Tyrese can finish in the paint. Tyrese can shoot. Tyrese can play make. I like players like that next to Scottie Barnes because I think they play well with him. I've seen really like very few players who fit that mold play with Scottie, but whenever they do, it's like seamless.
Right.
Um, One player that kind of comes to mind that people are gonna maybe laugh at is Armani Brooks. I just loved his synergy with Scottie. Just like how he could move off the ball, how he would like space and get those shots up and attack gaps in defense. Like I don't know. The Raptors do have a bit of a pressing need to win next year. Let us not forget Jeff Doughton thoroughly outplayed Scoot Henderson in a head-to-head matchup this year in the G League.
Right.
That's not an indictment on Scoot. I think Jeff Doughton is just criminally underrated. And,
Right.
speedy recovery to Jeff Doughton, who's currently just had a surgery.
Yeah. I know.
But I do think it's worth noting that Scoot's not going to be like, he's not going to be an all-star next year. He's going to take some time too. But I think
Oh yeah.
long term, this pairing makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Namely because they're just two really smart basketball players.
I mean, I see. I don't love doing comps. Like I think that's a big thing. I'm actually looking at the NBA draft room right now, and they have a comp next to every single player, like Brandon Miller's Rudy Gay, Danny Granger, Scoot Henderson is prime Russell Westbrook. Um, I see Scoot as potentially being a better shooting Westbrook with a little bit more shiftiness, like as opposed to going 100 miles an hour at all times, just reading and stopping and starting a little bit more intelligently than Westbrook. Keep in mind,
He's built like a linebacker. He's built like a linebacker. So I see the the Russell Westbrook stuff. People who talk about Keontae George, getting to the line and having that gravity. Now I talked about on my little list here of 17 things I look for. Scoot just hits every box.
right,
And one of the things that he's really high on for me is upscalability in the NBA. When you put this guy around more talented players, you're really going to see him shine because he's number one, a very gifted passer, which I
Right.
really just love in NBA players. Number two, he's an extremely gifted athlete. Number
Right.
three, he's actually an NBA ready athlete. Like his strength is on par with NBA players right now, especially if you're playing him at guard. He's pretty long. He's got some vertical shiftiness as well. Like I think he can manipulate space. On the X and Y axis, I think he's got like a lot of potential to be like a dominant paint finisher at some point. What are
Right.
his weaknesses, really?
Yeah, yeah, and sorry, just to add to the strengths, he also doesn't seem like I think where Russ could get into trouble is that he like he would he would because he plays such a physically imposing style. He like really got into the mind game thing with other NBA players with the rock and the baby and all that stuff. Scoot doesn't seem like that kind of player. Just from what I've seen, he doesn't seem like the I'm going to belittle you, and so the moment is going to get to him. Like obviously, we've only seen him play in fucking G League, so really we don't know anything about it. But it looks like he could have that. In terms of weaknesses or deficiencies, I mean, right now it's his like 3-point shot is only at what 32% or whatever he shot in the G League. So I'd say that, right?
This is the hot take of the year right here. Scoot over Victor.
No, that's dude. Victor,
Ooh.
I think it's a cold take to say Victor could be top five best players to ever play, like out the gate. Like not out the gate. He's obviously not going to be
Wow.
a Kareem in year one, but like coming into the NBA, I feel like there's a very high potential for him to be like top five player of all time. Just we haven't seen. Nobody's seen it. Nobody's seen anyone his size that is as fluid as he is, who can shoot the
Mm.
way he does, and the game is currently constructed to fit his exact play style. It's
That's actually the point that is worth mentioning.
yeah,
Is that he is a perimeter player.
yeah,
He's a he's oh my god.
it's
He is a
insane.
7'5" perimeter player who has guard skills, guard handles. Like this is not like his handle is I don't think it's a hot take to say his handle is probably better than a few guards in the NBA that currently start.
Right.
Like he's got some insanely impressive ball control at that size. And I mean, talk to anyone who's like over 7 feet. It's not easy to handle the ball. He gets low. He gets real low.
Oh,
Like
right.
he's like down there like Tracy McGrady, like low. Like Tracy was a big ball handler, 6'8", 6'9",
Yeah.
and he would get real low. And that's just what they teach you. Like if you have a trainer who taught you how to dribble, they always tell you like the lower you dribble, the less room there is for error and less room there is for the defense to react to what you're doing.
Right.
And he's learned it, and he is really really impressively well coached. I feel
And
like
intelligent and rounded, like is super well spoken, like into art. Like this fucking kid checks
he's
every
he's
box.
he's French, and I
Yeah,
swear that into art is so personal for you, right? Okay, look, I'm gonna make a very hot takey comparison to Victor Wembanyama. You ready for this?
sure.
Ivan Drago.
From Rocky. Wait, I'll go from Rocky Four.
Yeah, that's basically it. Because basically this guy has been coached
Oh
to
yeah,
destroy the league.
right,
And I mean, people just don't understand like his skills at that size. I mean, look, like there are certain guys where you look at them and you're like, all right, you're doing this in Europe, but in the NBA you're gonna get destroyed because you know people can close gaps that they can contest your shots. You're going up against stronger people, but everything he does is based on something that you can't really put a defender in place to stop him,
right,
right? He's a good passer. You can't stop him because he'd see right over you.
right,
He has like an 8 foot wingspan, so it's not like his shot blocking is going anywhere. If anything, I think the shot blocking is actually going to improve with better defenders around him, making him a weak side shot blocker. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility he's going to have a 10 block game probably within the first 2-3 months of his career. He can do things that are impressive, and again, it comes down to how you move, and he moves well. So, barring injuries, yes, I think it is pretty safe to say he will be a top 20 to top 25 player very soon in the NBA.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason why teams have been tanking for like 2 years to get him. There's also a reason why that the San Antonio Spurs valuation just went up by $500,000, or $500 million. I'm talking $500,000, $500 million. I'm talking in 1992 money right now, $500 million. And I mean, look, it's also you take into account the off court impacts of having a player who can bridge the gap from now like U.S. to Europe. We saw it with Yao. You need someone great to do it. Like, not shade on Tony Parker. Tony Parker, surprising fact. Do you know that Tony Parker is one of the top 10 all-time playoff scorers? Would you believe me if I told you that?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I
That's
mean, I watched.
shocking. Based on how people talk about him like he was like a few-time All-Star. Like, this is one of the greatest players of all time, and one of the greatest playoff performers of all time, and a Finals MVP. And he was not enough to really create the wave of like French fandom. Like, there were fans, of course, there were fans. French fans were fans, but I think Victor can create like much more of a awareness for basketball in Europe than there already is. Basketball is
That's
already
true.
very hot in Europe, but I think he can take it to the next level. I think this is such a great thing for the NBA, especially if they start talking about potentially expansion teams in Europe at some point. Maybe I know that's been floated around before. They could talk about a midseason tournament in Europe at some point, and they would sell the fuck out of that at like
Yeah.
500 euros a ticket. There's just so much interest in this guy, and I think that most of it is warranted. And I think most of the I don't know. I think people saying like, "Oh, it's just Chet Holmgren." It's just, oh my God, it's not even close. It's not even close. But you have to answer the critics. Kenny Lofton did bully the shit out of him like a couple of years ago, or was it last year? And I mean, that's going to be a growing pain for him. But how many players like that are there? If Victor Wembanyama was coming into the NBA in 1998, I'd be a little bit worried about him. But there just aren't a lot of guys who can do a lot to him. And I think over some period of time with some strength and conditioning, and what I was really impressed by, like last year, I was hype about him. This year, I'm even more hype about him because I see the work that he's done to prepare for this stage. Like, he's actually already put on like a good solid 15 pounds
That's
from the
great.
beginning of the season. Like, he looks more defined. His shoulders look far less, skinny. Like, if you remember that first tape that we saw Victor Wembanyama shooting jump shots over Rudy Gobert, how skinny, like bare
Mm.
maga he was, like so skinny. And like to where he is now, like this is a guy, yeah, he's never going to be big, but he could be Garnett. Like, and I
Yeah.
think that that's a really fair comparison. A lot of people are throwing out Kristaps Porzingis or whatever. No, I think this is like a 7'5" Kevin Garnett, and
He's
Garnett
I
was
feel
about 7'1".
Yeah, he's like a little thicker than Ingram was, right? Brandon Ingram was like pretty rail thin when he came into the league. And he's bulked up a little bit. Like he's put on some muscle. And I feel like if he yeah, I feel like he could be yeah, I think KG is probably a pretty good parallel there.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, man. That dude is going to be insane. I think he immediately probably infused an extra few $1 billion into the NBA just by his sheer presence.
the NBA
Um,
app is basically him. That's
yeah,
basically what it's for. It is to create, a pathway to Europe. I think, it has been pushed out more because of him. I don't think I've ever seen the NBA stream a prospect's games. I don't think I've ever seen a commissioner talk so openly so many times about an impending, technically he's not in the NBA right now.
right.
I mean, God, he might go undrafted. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
um, but yeah, like the way that Adam Silver was already talking about him, like, I mean, I understand a lot of us have been, held down we've been led down the hype train before, and maybe it hasn't worked out. With Cade, it hasn't really worked out. With Chet, it hasn't really worked out so far. Granted, he got injured. So, we've been hyped about players before and it hasn't worked out. Zion, you can say like when he's healthy, he's been great, but he hasn't really lived up to the hype. Ben Simmons definitely has not lived up to the hype. There's a lot of guys who've been kind of come in with this chosen one tag. Very few ever have made it, but I don't think they've ever come in with the level of expectation that Victor Wembanyama has ever.
no, and but man, the expectation is there, and I think he's going to meet it. I think it's just so. I think it. He seems so comfortable in his own skin. Uh,
He is very comfortable in his own skin, and he has a great support system around him. And I think that I don't want to talk about Kaysen too much in this live because I talked about him last time. But I went and I dug into some more Case and Wallace stuff because I was like, man, if you're gonna put your name behind, this is like I'm gonna be branded as Rob is the guy that wanted Case and Wallace when Case and Wallace comes out and averages 2 points per game next year. So I just want to be firm on what I'm talking about here. So I went and listened to like a 20-minute interview with him, and I was just like listening to him talk about like his circle and keeping it small. And Wemby's the same way, Scoot's the same way. These three guys to me, not to throw them above everybody else, I don't think there's any bust potential in any one of these three guys. Like,
right,
there's, barring an injury, these are like the three guys where I'm like, they're going to be starters in the NBA at minimum, probably more for a very, very, very long time.
right,
It's very hard to accurately say that about a 19 or 20-year-old because there's so many things that can go wrong, from injuries to work ethic
yeah,
to just not scaling up properly to the pressure of being a professional athlete. There's so many things that can go wrong. You don't want to be that sure, but
hmm,
when people show you that remarkable maturity at a young age, Kaysen's interview just blows me away, and Scoots does too. I watched Scoot sit down with Kevin O'Connor talking about you know um how that style of basketball that we were bitching about, you and I, all year, of that ISO, dribble, bet on myself bullshit.
hmm,
And it was so interesting to watch a 28-year-old Fred VanVleet sort of like double down and do that, and not only do that, but sort of justify that and say that that's how they need to play. And then to listen to Scoot Henderson in his interview with Kevin O'Connor basically call that style out and say that's dated, and guys who really want to win these days, they don't play like that. And I
right,
was just like, man, I would love this guy on my team. And Scoot was a really, really big part of why I was comfortable tanking, because I knew that even if you didn't get Wembanyama, you would get something really great in Scoot Henderson. It's
yeah,
not a concession prize, really. It's just a very different type of franchise player. And
yeah.
I do
He's
think Scoot
number
is
one
going to be
pick.
a franchise player.
Yeah, he's a number one pick in many other years.
100%.
Yeah,
I think I see where you're coming from on that. There are a few players for sure where I'm like him and Derrick Rose. I don't know, like who would go first,
right.
but I think he's in that class of player.
Yeah,
And they used to say that about Jay Williams too. They used to say like Jay Williams would be a number one pick if not for Yao Ming. I think that was a little bit eesh
right,
of a take, but
right.
I definitely see it. Now you wanted to talk about Kobe Bufkin, and this is a player that I am very excited about as well. So beyond the guys that I'm really, really sure about, there are some guys that I'm very curious about.
Right.
Bilal Coulibaly is one of them. Kobe Bufkin is another. Jordan Hawkins is another. Those are the three guys that I'm like really, and Case and Wallace, where I'm like, yes. And if the Raptors do somehow find a way to move up to three, then obviously if Scoot's there, you run, and you never look back.
Right.
What do you like about Kobe Bufkin?
So Bufkin just looks like from all the digging that I've done, and it's been sort of reiterated from one podcaster to another, and these are well known guys. It's like it's all the NBA big board, Raphael Barlow. It's the who is the dude that called Scottie a low level scorer? I know I'm not. He's not getting the rate.
Sam Vecini.
Sam Vecini, um, Coach Adam Spinella, like all of these guys, they kind of reiterate the same thing in Kobe Bufkin, in that he doesn't seem to have any weaknesses, right? And he actually has a trait that was that Tony Parker had, which is even though he was a slight-ish guard,
Mm-hmm.
his rim finishing is like insane. Like I think he shot like 72% at the rim, which
70-ish, yeah.
yeah, 70-ish%, something like that.
Yeah.
And like for a guard, that is phenomenal. And that goes beyond your length and size. That's usually what's between the ears. It means you're shifty. It means you outcraft your opponents usually. It usually means that you're gifted with both hands. You can finish left and right,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that is so what we like after watching a full year of a Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr. backcourt. I'm just like, please give us a guard who can finish at the rim, right? Tony Parker led the NBA in finishing at the rim over fucking like 7'1" guys, right? Back in his era. I was like, we need guys like that. But there's what I'm afraid of is that there's so much hype around him now that other teams underneath us are going to catch on and we're gonna lose out on him.
Well, Kobe has consistently been mocked anywhere from 12 all the way to 21, right?
Right,
That seems to be his range.
right.
Kaysen has been mocked anywhere from 6 and 5 all the way down to 13 being his floor. It's always a little bit difficult. And I've talked to a general manager in 2011, and they said, I can't show you our big board, but it looked nothing like any of the mock drafts. And this seems to be a recurring message
Right.
throughout that if you saw the Raptors big board, I guarantee you they had Christian Koloko 22, 20-ish around there. They probably had Andrew Nembhard even higher. They probably had Dyson higher than certain teams. Like so, it's really difficult. And there are guys who go third or fourth that are like maybe 15th or 18th on someone else's big board.
Right.
These especially teams that do not just go by the mocks and are really really good at scouting. They have very unique boards, and so you don't be surprised if on draft night you see a guy who's been consistently mocked 16, 17 go 6 or 5. It totally could happen.
I think
Um,
that Josh Primo went. He went like 12th or something to
Yeah,
the
he was mocked in the second
first.
round.
Yeah, he was he was mocking the second
I
round.
mean, in that case, it was for good reason. I just want to put that out there. Sometimes you look like an absolute idiot reaching up that high, but I do want to say that just a week or two before, I was like 3 weeks. So basically, I think I've shared this story before that my first website that I ever built was in 2002, and it was a mock draft of the 2003 mock draft. That was the first website that I ever built, and it was in high school.
Good.
And I remember on my very first mock draft, I had some, older guard from Marquette being picked 35th overall in Dwayne Wade.
Oh, Dwayne.
35th was my first mock draft on Dwayne Wade, and he ends up going fifth. Ironically, that year, sometimes people forget this. The Miami Heat desperately, desperately, desperately wanted Chris Bosh.
Right.
Yeah. Um,
I wish that would happen. That would be fucking amazing.
I don't think the Raptors would have taken Dwayne Wade.
Oh, really? Who
Yeah.
would they have gotten? Good Christ.
I, I don't know for sure, but I think they would have taken TJ Ford. Um, it's just a thought. Like, yeah, it blows your mind now, but TJ Ford was very, very high on a lot of people's draft boards. He actually slipped that year. The Raptors initially, if you remember, were a team that fell down in the generational top three. This is a three-person draft. The Raptors had the third worst record. They were supposed to pick Carmelo Anthony,
Right.
and they fell down to 4. And Vince Carter wanted them to trade that pick like right away. He was just like, "You gotta trade this pick. You gotta trade this pick." Ah, good old days.
Sounds
Um,
sounds
okay.
like sounds like another team. And this is what a good transition. What one of the reasons I'm just so annoyed about the way the year went is that now we are dependent on what Portland does for our success. We don't hold our own. What's the term that they use? We don't. It's eluding me right now. There's a like with our fate is not in our own hands kind of thing. We have to rely on another team, and if Brooklyn happens to offer up Mikal Bridges, then sorry, we're not getting the third pick. We're not getting
Would they
Scoot.
do that though?
Was that?
You think the Portland Trailblazers would prefer Mikal Bridges over Pascal Siakam? Is that how far Pascal's stock has fallen? That's not shade on Mikal. I think Mikal is a
Yeah,
hell of a player.
I don't.
Um,
I don't think it's signifies how far his stock has fallen. More so as Mikal's has risen. I think one.
Siakam's two-time All NBA.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna keep saying that. He's two-time All NBA. He's still technically in his prime, in his theoretical prime. He's an NBA champion. Like he should be able to get you a third overall pick. Like that should be like, wow, what a great haul for a third overall pick. I mean, the very fact that I don't know, man. Like sometimes it's difficult to say like, are we in an echo chamber here where our Pensar basketball community is just so low on Siakam after the year that he had, which wasn't really that bad a year, but it wasn't a good year by any means.
Right.
Are we just so low on him that we are underestimating? But then whenever I talk to anyone who covers the rest of the league, like maybe they're totally outside this community and totally outside of this fan base, they all say the same thing. We don't think about Siakam the way that you guys think about Siakam up north. Like we
Right.
we think about him like, I mean, to be honest, they think about him just a couple notches above Jeremy Grant.
Right.
They don't talk about him in the same tier as Jalen Brown, and I think that's a little unfair, personally.
All they see is highlights of this year, right? And you can't judge Pascal fairly on this year just because there was no spacing. He did not have the team that complements his game. Portland has that team, and I think they would be fucking amazing if he was on that team because he would have like dead eyes like Shaden Sharp, Dame, obviously, and Jeremy Grant shot like 43% or something stupid from three last year, right?
He was shooting
So
46 at one point. Yep, before
yeah,
they started tanking.
and so you put those three guys on the court. If you can get a set like Nurkic hit some threes last year. Now I
Hmm.
don't think Nurkic is a high IQ player. I'll leave it at that, but he's serviceable. So that starting five, I think, would be excellent. If you can somehow swap out Nurkic and something else, like I think they have another
I think
pick.
Nurkic plus Jakob plus, given that I really do want, like, I do see Christian Koloko as a rotation piece next year. I think that creates a bit of a logjam. I don't necessarily think if you take on Nurkic's contract that there's going to be like some sort of, overwhelming, interest in other teams wanting to bring him in. He's a very
Right.
talented player. He's just a very bad defender. I think he's a bad defender. Some
Yeah.
people disagree with that. I'm usually shocked when I meet them, but I
Oh,
think he's a pretty bad defender.
I mean, he could maybe like I don't know. He can kind of like bang with some bigger centers, but how many are there besides Jokic? And Jokic is going to outsmart him every time,
I
right?
would I would rather put Jakob Poeltl on Jokic. I'd
Uh,
rather put Scottie on Jokic. I'd rather put OG on Jokic. There's so many other matchups for Jokic other
Rui,
than Nurkic, who he would kill, by the way. Just
yeah,
murder him, destroy him. Yeah, I don't see a place for Jokic, and sorry, wow, for Nurkic, and I definitely, if I'm adding any bigs to this roster at all, I want them to be able to shoot. I basically, like, I'm looking at what the Nuggets are doing right now to the Lakers, and I'm just like, yo, like, everyone's out. It's five out. Nurkic is, oh my God, Jokic is hitting shots from the perimeter. Porter is, popping up in the corner. Jamal Murray is coming off a pick. It's like everyone can shoot. Everyone can shoot.
yep.
Everyone who's playing for them can shoot. The one guy who really can't shoot that well is Aaron Gordon, and he's still trying to shoot. So it's like playing a non-shooter. You have two options. Number one, throw them in the dunker spot. Number two, have them just as a screener.
Right.
Have them as a screener, especially if they're even the type of player like who's reasonably efficient around the rim and that only scoring gravity is out there. I think defenses would scheme that out. I was actually really worried about the Raptors in the playoffs because of Jakob Poeltl and how defenses would be able to sort of, get around that. And I mean, look, the Spurs look like geniuses right now, overall, I think, just because of the fact that they've fallen ass backwards into this first overall pick, but also I think because of how well they've cleared the road for Victor, to start next year.
Yeah.
And I think that Jakob Poeltl starting with Victor Wembanyama would have been an interesting thing at the 5-4. But I also think that it completely takes away like something that's so necessary for Victor, which is driving space.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So and he doesn't really need picks. Like, I mean, he can get it. He can get it on his own. So I think by having a center who now can sort of space out, you can actually play five out with him as well. And I think that's very interesting. And you really wouldn't have been able to do that with Jakob Poeltl. You probably would have had to overpay him, or you probably would have been like stuck in a situation where letting him walk for nothing. So they got three picks for someone that they might have just let walk for nothing
Right.
because he's just not a great fit next to Victor Wembanyama. So it's a very interesting sort of place to be for the Raptors. So you're at
So
13. You're at 13.
uh,
Keontae George, Cason Wallace, Kobe Bufkin, Jordan Hawkins are all on the board because Bilal Coulibaly and someone else and Rayon Rupert flew up the draft boards. People got them in workouts, realized they were way better, and somehow all four of these guards are sitting there at 13. Who are you picking?
So if I'm listening to the mocks,
Hmm.
then and I'm listening to what people have said, then I'm going Case and Wallace. But just like just from my eyes, I feel like Kobe has a higher upside. I just feel like he has a higher offensive upside. He's a great defender. He's not maybe as good a defender as Kaysen, but he's a very good defender.
It is
He
worth mentioning he's a year older than these guys, right?
Yeah, I don't care about that really. I
But
like that.
but I mean, in fairness, like he wasn't good as a freshman,
Right,
like at all,
right,
right? He
sure,
was barely like mocked coming into this year. I believe Kobe Bufkin would be lucky to be a second round pick.
right,
He's flown up draft boards. So you can look at trend lines as a positive thing. You could also say, well, how would you feel about Casey Wallace or Keontae George or, Nick Smith Jr. if he was healthy? I mean, Nick Smith is a very interesting player because, he started this year top
right,
five pick, right? Widely considered the best player in college basketball, the best freshman in the country. McDonald's All American. A lot of people had some very high hopes for him. He has a not so healthy season. Could this be one of those situations where you get him in the gym and you realize, oh my God, we have not seen the best of Nick Smith Jr.? And I think
right.
you could also look at him. Kaysen is a 5-star recruit, really highly regarded throughout, right? Anthony Black too.
Right.
And again, to those of you who don't know, there are I think about 24, 25 5-star recruits. If I recall correctly, they're about 24, 25, and then everyone else is like 4-star, and then there's like a lot of those guys, and then there's 3-star.
Is that a really good number for one draft? Like, do most drafts have 25 5-star
Oh
recruits?
no, no, no! I'm saying that when they do the high school rankings, right,
Oh,
for 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, whatever, I believe there are 25 to 30, if I recall correctly, 5-star recruits, and then everyone beneath that is 4. And there are way more 4-star recruits than 5-star recruits. There are more 3-star recruits than 4-star recruits. And therefore it sort of makes the honor of being named a 5-star recruit like a very big deal. Now, obviously, all 5-star recruits are not built equal. LeBron James was a 5-star recruit. Paul George, I believe Paul George was 5-star. I don't know if Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were 5-star recruits. Some guys just sort of like fly under the radar, right? Dame Lillard comes to mind. Steph Curry comes to mind. Like these guys were not 5-star recruits. I don't
right,
think Dame Lillard was, but these guys kind of grow later. And so you can sort of say like we can see more of the Kobe Bufkin story right now because he is a year older. You can
right,
sort of see his trajectory. Whereas with someone like Scoot, someone like Casey Wallace, someone like someone like that, you kind of have to draw what next year might have looked like and then compare Kobe Bufkin and them at that stage.
that's
I
true.
do, however, think that the proven should be taken um, at a higher value than the hypothetical,
Right.
right? Guy proves he's a national champion, I think that should mean more than guy might have won a national championship next year. It's like a bird in the hand, bird. So
Sure.
I do like, I'm resistant to the idea of anyone being, above Case and Wallace at 13. But if
Right.
there were two guys where I'm like, I'll entertain it, it's Kobe Bufkin and Jordan Hawkins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jordan, the only thing that sort of kind of makes me a little bit worried is his wingspan. Again, we've been here with Desmond Bain. He's got a better wingspan than Desmond Bain.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
how he moves. I love how he gets a shot off. I think there's not a defender in the league that is going to be able to stop that
no.
at that level. I think he's really athletic. I mean, he's not really athletic, but he's athletic enough to be an NBA wing defender. I think he can probably, with some effort, guard one through three. Um,
If Jordan Hawkins ends up being Ray Allen light, but like not super light, but like Ray Allen a little bit light, right? That is an incredibly good player. Okay, that is a fucking phenomenal player. That's like, um, who's Ray Allen like? I can't. I don't know. I'm not
Rip
trying to.
Hamilton. Is Rip
Who?
Hamilton Ray Allen light with
Sure.
but with like more mid range shots and less 3-point shots?
How
Um,
rich man's Rip Hamilton? That's even better.
I mean, somewhere between Ray Allen and Landry Shamet lies, a Jordan Hawkins comparison that makes sense. And in all three cases, I love all three players because I just like guys who get shots in motion. I like guys who make defenses work. I like guys who shift around defenses and don't just stand still. And again, that some of that comes down to scheme, but at some point, movement shooting is a skill set. There are a lot of guys who just their percentages go down if you ask them to move to catch off the move, and there are certain guys where their percentages go down if you ask them to be standstill shooters. It is a
Gary,
skill set. Then there is a reason why the guys like Landry Shamet are paid what they're paid because it's a skill set. Like Tyler Hero is a bit of a movement shooter, right? I think those guys can really unlock gaps and create all these other gaps. Like they do things for your offense that maybe people don't appreciate until they really get the tape and they're like, man, that guy moving through the paint sucked that second defender out, forced that other collapse, and they got the other guy like wide open. That constant, and he's got like just energy for days. Like that guy never stopped moving all year. It's just like,
yeah,
So I really like him. I really like Kobe Bufkin, and I really like Casey Wallace. Those are the three guys. If the Raptors call any of those three names, Adam Silver comes on stage with the 13th overall pick. The Raptors select, and it's Casey, Kobe, or Jordan. I'm good.
and because there are so many good players in this draft, a couple of those guys are going to fall in the draft, and that's like it's man, they needed to deal last year. This was the draft to get multiple picks. Try to get as high pick in the draft as you can, and try to get multiple picks. They should have fucking dealt Pascal last year. I'm like I'm kicking myself for the Raptors organization just because like if they would have gotten can you imagine a rebuild with Scottie Barnes, either Wallace or Bufkin, and Jordan Hawkins? Like that is a big.
So in that scenario, you're probably getting like what, like the 10th, ninth pick, that type of thing.
Yeah, if you just had like if you actually truly tanked, right? So you can get up
Need
to
I
five.
remind you when they made the trade for Jakob Poeltl, like they had a worse record than the Portland Trailblazers. Like they were sixth.
What I'm
So
saying?
you actually could have gotten all the way up to two or three or even one. And that was exactly my premise. And look, like I don't know, toot my own horn a little bit here. Like, how right have I been? Giving that fucking Jakob Poeltl trade a D. And it's the thing that pisses me off is I'm early on a lot of shit, right? Like, I went on my little Jokic rant about how Jokic was the rightful MVP before Embiid shit the bed.
Right.
I did it a week before Embiid shit the bed, just so I wanted to be kind of first. And I know that there was some bubbling, surfaces, but to go that loudly and just say this is not even fucking close. What are you doing, voters? Is a pretty hot take.
Yeah. It was just like the mainstream NBA media didn't want to hear about Vorp anymore. They didn't want
It's
to.
not about fucking warped. Watch the fucking games, man. Like Jokic is not as bad a defender as people make him out to be at all. And honestly, like, I mean, again, like all I heard back from people, and I got a lot of nasty messages on Instagram saying 80% of the voting media can't be wrong. And it's like, well, all 80% of those people look like absolute trolls right now. And it's the same thing with, Trust in Masai for the Jakob Poeltl trade. And I was just like, this is the wrong trade for the wrong team at the wrong time. And again, now we agree. And at the beginning of the year, it's like, hey, Pascal Siakam is not that great. And now we agree. So it's like, now if somehow Christian Coloco, Precious Achiuwa, and Scottie Barnes can really pop, I'll really look like a visionary there.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's kind of annoying because people have like such faint memories, so they shit on you when you're early, but they don't remember to go back and then be like, oh right, this guy said this. The same thing with the Will Barton thing. It was like the Will Barton's wrong, and then people will be like, but you also said that Joe Wieskamp was going to be really really good, and then he missed every single three he ever took, for the rest of the year. So go fuck yourself, Rob. But like I get it, but still, I'm just saying, I'm not that dumb, Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty like I took some time to think about this shit, man. And it does bother me that yes, you're right. Like we potentially could have had an Azar Thompson or an Amen Thompson, at the fourth overall pick or fifth overall pick in the worst case scenario,
Right.
and that is a massive talent boost for a team that desperately needs a talent boost. I think, so much talent has gone out the door. I think talent is sorely missing. And honestly, it is talent that shows up in the playoffs. I mean, we're watching it right now. Like
Really.
Jamal Murray, Michael what are these guys other than really talented players? Um,
Jamal Murray. I remember that draft. I
Hmm.
remember being at. I was at the Molson Amphitheater for a concert, and I was just checking my phone constantly to see because we had I think the ninth pick. That was the Pirtle year,
Hmm.
the ninth pick, and I was like, please let Murray fall to 9. Please let Murray fall to 9. I knew that it
And
would
he
like
went to 7.
yeah he went at 7. He went two picks ahead. Um, Markeith Chris went in between him and Jakob Pertl. So
That was a Sacramento pick, wasn't it?
shit, I don't even remember.
It's not. You know what's so sad? It's not even Markeith. It's Marquise Chris.
Marquise Chris, sorry, yeah.
He's so irrelevant that you've forgotten his name completely, and that's sad. But the Raptors got a good player in Jakob Poeltl, and now they got him back. And they got an even better player at 27 in Pascal Siakam that year. Which makes me
Also got
think,
Kawhi Leonard.
are you noticing that the two players that very likely, I mean not very likely, but could likely. Okay, so here's the diversity of the draft. So the average draft will produce a couple of all-stars in the lottery, right?
Okay.
Couple of all-stars. And when I say all-stars, I don't mean Jamal McGlory all-stars. I mean like they make 2, 3 all-star teams comfortably. That's what I call an all-star. I don't consider these token all-stars all-stars. No offense, Fred VanVleet, but congratulations on your fucking all-star thing. But if the Raptors don't shut down the border, like if Canada doesn't shut down the border, you're not making the fucking all-star team. So just stop with that. Okay, but I do want to say the most drafts produce like 1 to 2 in that top 13, top 14 picks. Then there's one more, usually like 15 to 30. And then there's usually one more from like 31 to 60. And I think that that's pretty much the spectrum. And the Raptors have been pretty good at identifying that player in that range usually,
Right.
right? Now, OG hasn't made an all-star team yet, but I think if, like I think he could easily make one. I think he was in the running this year. I think, being second team all defense, I think he's going to make a couple at some point. If he gets traded, even more so. So it's dawned on me as I'm watching the playoffs that these teams are being led by 4 players who were picked in very different places.
Right.
One team is being led by 2 guys who are both picked number 1 in the Lakers, right? Anthony Davis, LeBron James, both highly undisputed first overall pick type of players, right?
Right.
Teams tanked to get those guys. They were highly regarded. There was no chance they were going to be anything but all-star MVP type players.
Right.
Then you have the Denver Nuggets, who are being led by a second round pick, who is by far their best player. Like the next best player on the Nuggets, whether you say that's Jamal Murray or whether you say that's Michael Porter Jr. or whether you say that's Aaron Gordon, I don't think it's even close.
It's
Like I
funny.
think it's Jokic, and then it's like whatever the fuck is after him is not
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. I think didn't Aaron Gordon? I think he went like 4. He might be the highest draft pick on that team.
He is
Is he? Yeah, he went like 4 maybe. And so then you had Murray at 7, and then Porter at like 19 or something like that.
14. 14. Michael Porter was picked 14th.
Oh, 14.
And a lot of people, had he not had a back injury, he probably would have gone top 3.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael Porter Jr. was like a top 3. In fact, most mocks had him number 1 pick before the back injury. So
I,
just
I,
saying.
it kind of makes me love the 2019 Raptors even more because I think they're who was the highest draft pick was
Kawhi,
Kawhi at
15th.
was he
They didn't
15th?
have a single lottery pick,
Crazy,
isn't it? Yeah, I know.
craziest shit you ever heard of a championship team without one lottery pick.
Ironically, they shipped all their lottery picks out just to get those players. They
Crazy,
shipped Jonas Valanciunas out. He was a lottery pick. They shipped out Jakob Poeltl. He was a lottery pick. They shipped out DeMar DeRozan. He was a lottery pick. And they got back all second round guys and late first round guys and mid first round guys for them. Danny Green was an undrafted guy. Marc Gasol was a second round pick. Kawhi Leonard was 15th overall pick. But it is worth noting, Jason Tatum, third overall pick. He was actually traded on draft night. Like technically well, not on draft night, but the team that had number 1, ironically, is the team that he just eliminated.
right?
51 points. Oh, the story just writes itself, right? You didn't
Right.
believe in me then? How about now? Um, and then you have Jimmy Butler, 30th overall pick. So He got a 30th overall pick and a 40. I think Jokic was what, 41, 40, 41st overall pick,
Right.
44th overall pick, something like that. So these two guys can meet in the finals as by far the two best players in the playoffs so far.
Right.
Like, would you agree with that? Would you say Jimmy Butler has been the best player in the East? Because I think he has been in the
Uh,
playoffs so far.
it's hard to argue that. It's hard
Okay,
to.
like even after Jason Tatum's explosion of 51 points, I think Jimmy Butler has been the best player in the East, and I think it is indisputable that Jokic has been the best player in the playoffs by
Oh yeah.
far. So the two best players in the NBA playoffs so far, and we are all the way to the conference finals right now, are a 30th overall pick and a second round pick, which makes me say that 13 may not be so bad,
Right.
especially with Masai Ujiri at the helm drafting, because we know he does well. And if the pressure is on, like you can tell he's on high alert. They're not going to screw this up.
And
So
all. Do you believe in in fate that a guy named Kobe goes 13 and he's gonna be?
I wouldn't hate it, man. I got to tell you, I really like Kobe Bufkin a lot. Like the more I think about him, the more I like him. The more game I watch, the more game tape I watch of him, the more I like him. I like Bilal Coulibaly as well. I really do. Like there
Uh,
are like 4 or 5 guys in this draft where I'm just like, and I don't think I've ever been there. I've never been at a place where I'm like, you could pick one of 4 or 5 guys and I'd be totally cool with it. But knowing where I'm at right now, I'm like, man, they're gonna pick Keontae George and I'm gonna fucking cry all day. Like that's gonna happen. No, it's not gonna happen. I feel like Keontae is just not their type, man.
yeah, I don't think he is their type. But here we sort of got sidetracked from this list we were putting together earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go through the draft and tell you the guys that I think could be all stars. So
Okay.
top three.
I still want to do the top 10 picks. I think it would be very interesting. Let's do the lottery for the 2021, 2022, 2023 draft as well, and then we'll close the show out. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Cool.
Okay, so
So,
top three for sure. I think I think Amen Thompson's going to be good. I think Jarris Walker is going to be very good. Jarris Walker to me
all
kind of
star.
a
Jarris
better.
Walker.
Yeah, he looks like a better version of Paul Millsap, and Millsap was an all star and a very good player.
Okay. And a
Um,
second round pick. Ah ha ha.
oh right, let's go. I don't know much about Taylor Hendricks, Cam Whitmore. Can't really comment on those guys. Um,
But if you did know more about them, 12 all stars.
maybe you never know. Asar
They
Thompson.
can't all be all stars, Vince. The,
Well,
the league is damn talented, bro.
I mean, so
Jokic is going to be making all star teams for the next 10 years. Um,
do you think it's possible that um, because of like modernized technology, modernized sports medicine, athletic technology in general, that more guys coming in as young kids will displace older guys coming out of the league more in more abundance? Do you think that's possible?
I think the league is getting more talented, and I think each draft is showing me that
Right.
there is more and more talent. Like the idea that okay, so like someone like Christian Coloco, right? Christian
Yeah.
Coloco going 33rd overall last year was mind-boggling to me because this
Right.
is the type of player that probably goes 5th or 6th overall like 10 years ago, 15 years
Right.
ago. Like
Right.
exactly the type of player. And I understand that, sentiments have shifted over shot blockers and centers or whatever, but he's not exactly unswitchable. He's not exactly unathletic. He's a very athletic player. So the very idea that someone thought 32 players are better than this guy, and we can all argue about, what his eventual upside is. Will he ever, learn how to finish in the paint? Will the shot ever come around? Whatever, whatever. But as a shot blocker alone, like if he had just played like solid minutes, like I guarantee you averages like 2.5 blocks a game this year.
Right.
He's just, I mean, if he could stay on the court with foul trouble. But I think like the league is getting more talented. I think the rules are allowing, more athletic players to, and I think it's just like all these guys are just getting more skill work done early on. And I think like also the school of thought around the game has changed,
Right.
right? Where you'll have like a 6'8" guy, 6'7" guy in grade 8, And instead of throwing him down on the post, you're getting him to shoot like 28, 29-foot jumpers. And if you're not getting him to do it, he's doing it himself. And that guy's coming in and he's just going to be way more talented. He's got more ball skills and, he's developed that entire package. By the time he gets there, he's a 6'10", Paolo Banchero,
Right.
right? So I just think like, yes, players are getting bigger. They're getting stronger. They're getting more athletic. It is a joke to me, sometimes when people talk about, guys in the 50s and 60s. And I think JJ Redick's, I think the plumbers and it's a little bit far, but it's
Right.
not that far. It's
Right.
not that far. Like it's not that far because the athleticism is next level. But when you find that athleticism and talent and skill work and you meld it together with the right mentality towards the game, the right philosophy of the game, like
Right.
with a Scoot Henderson, like with a Victor Wembanyama, like with a Kaysen Wallace. I'm just gonna keep talking about Kaysen as that third guy until like
Pretty good.
I
I
just
think
think he's so good, man.
he looks really good. You can't beat that kind of defense, and if you have like kind of an NBA ready-made skill coming into the league, yeah.
I think he's better offensively than people give him credit for, man.
Oh no,
He's got a really solid jump shot. I saw like I watched like 2 games of his yesterday. I watched 2 games and I watched like 2 long interviews. I just basically like devoted my entire time after the live to completing an editing project, which by the way, phew, fuck. I'm so happy to have that out of my way. Like I immediately like the world opened up when I was done that because it was a really hard film to edit and I was like glad to be done with it.
nice.
And of course I'm not done with it because notes are gonna come back and it's gonna be like more edits. But I'm just happy to get that one draft out of the way. But I just devoted some time to just inhaling Case and Wallace stuff, and I just watched him on every possession, and it's just like he's so much more capable. He's just so unselfish. He's so
Right.
unselfish. He never, like the 2 games that I watched, never took a bad shot, never took anything out of rhythm, never like really needed to pound the ball. And that's what I really like about him and Scoot is that they both can play off the ball, and yet they're both primarily like really good on ones defensively. So they can play the one, but they can also easily shift over to the two if someone like a Pascal or a Scottie needs to initiate the offense. And that just makes your offense so much more dynamic. If you have a guy who doesn't just need to pound, pound, pound all the fucking possessions like a Ricky Rubio, and has that sort of like 3 level scoring package where he can be at the two and not kill you because he's gonna have like that ability to break down this the second line of defense, or if he's on the weak side then he can go attack like ISO. Like I think it's just like both these guys, they have so much. um
I hate to burst your bubble or piss in your cornflakes, whatever analogy you want to use. I just don't see
yes.
him falling to us. I
So
just don't. I don't think he's getting past 8 or 9. Washington or Utah. Like Utah, like Danny Ainge just knows talent. He's a phenomenal. Like he's the best GM in the league probably, right? In terms,
I think that's fair.
yeah, like in terms of the moves he makes, trading and assessing talent and drafting. Now
Mhm.
he, you know, like any GM, he's had some crappy misses. Um, who's the other guy that they?
This is
James,
crazy to me. I'm sorry, this is the dumbest comment I think I've ever read in my life. Bronny James is better than Kaysen, lol.
okay, I'm like,
Jesus Christ, man.
okay,
What?
I don't.
No.
It's
Get the fuck out of here.
that to me is like saying Pete Sampras in tennis is better than Diana Taurasi in basketball. Like it's just like what? I don't know.
Well, Bronny James and Case and Wallace are the same age, and they both play the same sport. Why are you talking a male tennis player and a female
I, I
basketball?
I'm just like
That's how far the gap is, huh?
right.
By the way, big Pete Sampras fan. Big shout out. I don't think Pete Sampras has never been mentioned on this basketball live. I'm pretty sure Pete has never been mentioned on any basketball live ever in the history of the world. So this is a first Guinness World Book of Records. Good
There
job,
you go.
Vince. Pete
Yeah.
Sampras mentioned. Big shout outs to Pete Sampras, one of my favorite tennis players growing up. Also, I used to teach tennis, so I was a big tennis guy. Tennis and basketball was my thing, but obviously like I was better at tennis than basketball. Like when I was 12, 13, I would like take lessons, but then I knew I loved basketball because after all my tennis lessons, I would go and play basketball.
Nice. Nice.
Like I was dead tired from tennis. I would be teaching tennis, then I would play tennis, and then I would go play basketball. I had to play basketball because it was like,
I
Yeah.
really like when I was a kid. I my running game wasn't too tight when I was a kid, just because I was a little chubs, so I couldn't keep up in many sports. But tennis I could do okay in. Um, Never pursued it though. Obviously, the music was just too much. It took over.
The very fact that you're telling me that despite being chubby that you were good at tennis makes me think that you didn't play very good players in tennis. I gotta tell you, like there's such a gap between like really good players and like so I would play tennis against my uncle, rest in peace, and he played state. So he was great. Like he was
Right.
really good. And I would tell him like, and after and on the car ride home when I was a kid, I would be like, okay, be honest. How hard did you try? And initially it was like 10%, 10%,
Right.
10%. I got very excited when he told me that he was up to about 65% against me.
Oh, nice.
And honestly, like I thought he was going like pretty hard, and I'm just like, man, the ball is coming because it's fractions of a second. Like
Mm.
when it comes at you from like a really good player, and then I didn't play for about 8 years, 7 years. And then I played this girl that I was dating, and she was actually training to play professionally in Bulgaria. Dude, I tell you, she whooped my ass. It was so embarrassing because she's like, yeah, you play tennis, I play tennis. And I was just like, one of us is playing tennis, one of us is just
Yeah.
watching the other person play tennis at this point because the ball is just you know what I mean? Like, it's coming
Yeah.
so fast. I'm like, oh my God, I've lost so much in 8 years of not playing. But there are levels to
It's
this, of
not like
course. With basketball, it's like playing basketball against Scottie Barnes. You might not score. Like my girlfriend and I. We were talking the other day about the
who's
physics of
lovely, but
Scottie. Hmm?
who's lovely, by the way. I got to
Ah,
meet.
you met her, yes, at Penn Dance, and thank you so much for coming. By the way, I really appreciated it. Yeah, that's right. You met my girlfriend. That's so cool. So now you can verify for the for the pockets of Twitter and Reddit that think I just I'm just a lonely virgin who's just dying in my mom's basement here. That's in fact not true. That's nice. Um, but yeah, like I was just we were talking about the physics of Scottie Barnes, and it was hilarious because I took out one of those long measuring tapes and I was like, his arms are from here to here,
Yeah.
and then she was just like, but that's our whole fireplace
Yeah.
and half of our piano. And I was like, yeah, that's just like, that's the physics of like a really big basketball player.
Yeah.
She's like, if you and Scotty played like one on one up to 100, do you think you would score? And I was just like, if he let me score one, maybe. But if he didn't, if he wanted me to not score, I don't think I would ever score on him. I think we could play up to 1,001, and I don't think I would ever score
No,
because
be
it's just
impossible.
physically impossible for someone of my size to stop him from scoring, and it's physically impossible for me to score over him
Right.
because he's just there's no advantage. I'm not faster than him. I'm not quicker than him. I don't at this point I'm not a better shooter than him. I'm pretty sure at some point I was a better shooter than him, but I'm not
Right.
anymore. So it's just like there's no advantages. When there's
No.
no advantages, there's no chance.
No.
But then I did the same, measuring tape thing for Victor Wembanyama, and she nearly fainted.
That's a large human right there.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I was trying to get the measuring tape up to our ceiling, and I was just like, yep, that's what 7'5" looks like.
Yeah.
It is insanity. And then when you take into account like the chemistry of how they move, like how quickly they move, then you start to realize like Victor Wembanyama could literally cover your whole house in like less than a second. If you live in a condo downtown or something, it's like 2 seconds. He's from one end of your house to the other end of your house. It's just enormous. Um, okay.
It's so crazy. So there's a dude in my band who's he's a guitar player. He's 6'5". When he stands beside me, he absolutely fucking towers over me.
Hmm.
The difference between me and him is the same difference between Kevin Durant and Victor Wembanyama. It's just so fucking mind blowing to think that a guy who could tower over Kevin Durant has essentially the same skill set as Kevin Durant. It's just so
I,
nuts.
I love this. Like, I just love this. Rob, you got to be a shooter to get to the basket. Just jack it up before they get to you, bro. Okay, I'll be honest. Like, Scotty picks up full court. Like, he picks up point guards full court. So he's picking up Chris Paul, who's basically my age, right? So I don't even have the youth advantage here. So I'm the older, smaller, less talented, less long, less quick player. Like, just there's no advantages here.
No.
I remember, I'm not going to tell you who it was, but there was like one of the best players in Canada at the time, and he asked me to play one on one when I was in high school, and he gave me a 10 point lead up to 11 because he was like 6'6", and he's just like, if I don't give you this, you're never gonna score on me.
Right.
And I actually scored. I scored that 1 point,
Nice.
and it was ironically it was a hook shot. Go figure.
Yeah.
I put up a hook shot on him. I tried to back him down, and he was laughing, 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 and I gave him a little twist, and I put it up. Because honestly, my jumper, like when he was guarding up close, my release wasn't fast enough. He blocked me twice.
Right.
So I mean, it was interesting. And he actually, ironically, he owed me money for that. So it's funny. Gave me a 10 point lead, all that hubris, and I still scored. But I'm telling you, that was me back then. This is me now. I'm not as quick. I'm not as strong. So I was like, yeah, it's really hard to imagine scoring on Scottie Barnes, much less any NBA player, to be honest with you. But especially someone as huge as Scottie Barnes. Um, I'm pretty sure if you gave me up to 100 against Fred VanVleet, I'd score one though.
Right.
I think I'd score one.
There's an
One.
video video that who's the my favorite announcer in the league, Scalabrini, right?
He's your favorite.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
I love him. He's just like I love the way he breaks down the game. He's like
He's
he's
good.
he's I anyway.
I like Antonio Daniels.
Is he New Orleans?
Yep.
Yeah, he's good too. He's that dude gets hype. He, his voice really raises whenever exciting stuff happens. It's pretty funny. But Scalabrini has a viral video on YouTube of him beating a guy who like called him out. He's like playing in some YMCA gym or something like that, just like putting up shots just to play. And some kid in the gym was just like, yeah, fucking Scalabrini, I could kick that guy's ass, and he beat him 11-0. Like Scalabrini beat him 11-0, and like gave this incredibly cogent point to the kid, and said,
I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me.
exactly, like I'm closer to LeBron James than you are to the worst player in the league. You know what I mean? This is so crazy.
Yes. Yes, I have played against an ex-NBA player. He beat me 11-0 when I was 14 years old. The final shot he hit on me was a 52-foot shot from behind the backboard in the crowd. Like we were at the ACC at the time. He was in the third row. He decided to go to the third row to hit the final shot. He's like, "You gonna let me go out of bounds to take the shot?" I was like, "Go out and shoot wherever." And yeah, he hit it.
Can you say
Nothing but net, by the way. Hmm?
who can you say who it was?
No,
Why not?
no, no. But it was an ex-NBA player, and
Ex
yeah. Hmm?
Was it an ex Raptor?
No, ex-Sixer. Um, so yeah, so I mean, like it was interesting, and I mean, and I played it at the time when I was 2008. I played against a guy who was a low-level player on the Raptors, and yeah, couldn't score, and that was me like when I was trying. That was me when I still played a lot more. So like now it's just crazy. Like the gap between an average person and an NBA player is just so massive. It's
Crazy.
it's it's crazy. Like I actually don't think that I like even like people who play every single day who aren't that huge, like Brian Macon, like for Handle Life, like he's a Division 1 athlete. He's a guy who trains every single day. He's in tip top shape. He's so quick, right? He's my age. I'm pretty sure he would mop me 11-0 right now. Like he's butter. Like every shot is butter. So like even though like I'm maybe like a little bit taller than him or whatever, like I'm pretty sure he'd get past me like every. Oh my God, the gap is so big. The gap is so big between like high school, like if you played high school and you thought like a high school to G League, that's not a big gap. It's so big.
It's pretty
Like
big.
the best player in high school, if you were the best player in your high school, there's a chance you could get a Division 2 scholarship, maybe, right? And if you got like 100 guys with Division 2 scholarships, the best one of those guys, there's a chance you can make a G League team. And if you take all the guys in the G League, there's a chance like one of them could get like, like maybe a few of them can get pro contracts in Europe, and then the gap to the NBA, and then the gap to being like a starter in the NBA. Oh my God. It's like there's 8 billion plus people in the world, and these are like the top 50, 60 players in the world at a sport that millions and millions of people play. It's crazy. Okay. So finally capping off this 2021, 2022, 2023 amalgam draft, which I am very excited to do. Okay, with the first you want to do let's just keep this interesting.
Okay, your fourth.
I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna go first. You go second. Okay, and then we'll just go round robin. Not round robin. It's not really more than two people here. So with the first overall pick, I'm gonna take Victor Wembanyama
Okay.
over Scottie Barnes. Yeah.
Uh, okay, I'm gonna stick with my guns. I'm going Scoot second.
Wow. Okay. Now the third pick. This is hard, but it is me,
But
the ultimate Scottie Barnes homer. Um,
if you don't take Mobley, I'm taking Scottie next. Or sorry, if you take Mobley, I'm taking Scottie next.
thanks for letting me know that. Okay. Um,
Or am I just posturing?
that's true. Okay, fine. I'll take Scottie.
You're going Scottie over Mobley.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. I'll take I'll take Mobley.
Okay, that's four. Now five. How far is Paolo Banchero going to slide? Hmm. So right now we're thinking Paolo, Franz, Cade? No. Nah. Cade is not close here. We're thinking Paolo, Franz, Brandon Miller, Chet maybe. Damn. How come I'm always stuck with like the hardest pick? Okay. I, I'm gonna probably get blasted for this. Am I gonna take Franz here? Am I really that crazy? Am I that analytically drawn to Franz Wagner that I'm gonna take him over so many players?
You did
Uh,
over Paolo.
yeah.
Wow. You're that's it. You just we
Or
know
am I just gonna go off the board and just pick like Casey Wallace right here, just blow the fucking um yeah, I think with the fifth overall pick, I am going to go with Franz Wagner.
okay.
Franz.
So okay, we went you went Vic first. I went Scoot. You
Scotty,
Scottie. I went
Mobley, Franz.
wow. Well, I'm gonna give you a gift here because
Okay.
I'm going Shaden Sharp next, and you can have
What?
yeah, dude.
No.
I think Shaden, I
Shaden Sharp over Jalen Williams?
uh
Whew.
yeah, I'm going Sharp over J Dub.
Is this
I
Canadian homerism? What is
no
this? Or it's
no
just like you were really enamored with his late season surge for a losing team?
no. I think that's who he's gonna be. Like I don't think
Wow. Okay.
at the beginning of next year, but I think that's who he's gonna be. You gotta think. So Shaden Sharp, how old was he in the draft? I gotta look this up.
18 or 19. He
18
was
or
young.
how old was Vince when he got drafted?
20.
So he's not he's a couple years behind Vince, right?
Okay.
So if you give Shaden Sharp a couple of years, I feel like he's Vince. Like he's so fluid. I've never seen an athlete as
Mm-hmm.
fluid as Vince until Shaden Sharp. And he has big ass hands just like he did. He he dunks just like he does. He's got a phenomenal midi. His 3-point shot is better than Vince's. I'm like, I feel like he's going to end up being the bet. Like when years from now, when they do redrafts of this draft, I actually
Mm-hmm.
think he'd be like the best guy in that draft. And that's saying something because there's good talent. Paolo's good, Chet's good, Jabari Smith is good, Keegan Murray's good, Ivy, Ben Matthews.
Okay. So, I mean, let's put this into perspective here. I know advanced stats are always tricky for rookies, but negative zero point 0.6 value of a replacement negative 3.3 box plus minus. Nothing alarming there, but also like need I remind you, Scottie was like plus in every department.
Right. Sure.
0. Like 0.032 win shares per 48 with a total of 1.2 win shares as a rookie who played a lot of minutes, to be honest. It's not like he was buried or anything.
Right.
He liked the percentages, but his defense was bad. His defense was really bad. And I'm
Right.
not taking a non-defender at like the fifth overall pick in like a generational draft.
In a 3 year draft.
I mean, God damn it. Like, look at the talent. You've never seen a draft this deep before. And, I think look, I get the potential argument. Like, I do. I do. I really do. He's good.
I'm
And he's probably like, I was a little bit like, boomer bust with him. And I could certainly see a case where, he does end up the best player in that draft. But
and
just to compare him to Jalen Williams,
he's
like
also
Jalen Williams was 0.3 box plus minus. Shaden Sharp was negative 3.3. That's a big gap. And you're not even going to tell me that these guys had like disproportionately different opportunities. I mean, yeah, sure, Jalen Williams played a few more minutes, but dude, he shot better from the field. He got to the line more. He took fewer threes. Fine. His assist percentage was twice. His steal percentage was twice. His like, I mean, God damn it, they had almost identical. Jalen Williams had lower usage. He had 18.4%. Like, I don't know how you take Shaden Sharp over Jalen Williams. That to me is hard.
upside. Upside. I
But
think
but is upside all vertical because he has one injury and that upside's gone? I mean, what about the upside of a Jalen Williams in terms of like his playmaking? His
he
playmaking,
hey,
his ability to get downhill, his ability to manipulate defenses. I mean, like Luka Doncic, and I mean, you're talking Nikola Jokic having like all of this, like he's the best player in the league. He does not resemble Jalen. He doesn't resemble Shaden Sharp at all. He actually has much more in common with Jalen Williams.
right. No, I listen. I'm a huge J Dub fan. I think I actually talked you into him, or not talked you into him, but I'm like throughout the year when we were talking about
You definitely did talk about him. Yeah.
yeah when we were talking about rookies. And for the record, he would be my next pick in this over Paolo and over Franz.
Yeah, he's gonna be mine.
Lucky
So,
bastard.
yeah, I know.
J Dub.
Yeah, I'm gonna take J Dub here. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Now who's your next pick?
Okay. So this one's hard because obviously, elephant in the room, Cade hasn't been picked yet, right?
And he's not
Uh,
getting picked. If you leave it up to me, he's not getting picked for like the next 6 picks. I mean, dude, like there are so many players that are still on the board right now. Chet is still on the board right now. Um, Alpert and Şengün is still on the board right now. Trey Murphy is still on the board right now. Dyson is still on the board right now. Like
Paolo is on the board.
Paolo is still on the board right now.
Jabari.
Brandon Miller is still on the board right now. Like there's a lot of players on the board right now. You can say Cade right now? Okay. I mean, I see it. I get
I,
it. He's not
okay.
bad.
So I'm actually leaning either Cason Wallace or who else was in this coming draft
You
class?
know, at some point you're gonna go back and you're gonna see all of my reactions to the shit that you're saying today, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my god!" Like I was just like, "What?" Kaysen over Paolo, eh? I'm a big Kaysen Wallace man, but that's tough.
So it's between Cason, Brandon Miller, Paolo, and
Cade, is Jalen Green just not getting a sniff for you right now?
I mean,
I mean,
you
shit, man.
would
If
think,
if if Shaden Sharp went,
you would think
how are you picking Shaden Sharp over Jalen Green? They are basically the same player, except Jalen Green is better.
bigger hands. He can palm the ball.
Jalen Green can palm the ball.
No. Come on. He can't do it like Shaden. Shaden picks it up like an orange. Like that's a huge deal.
It's
But
basketball. It's not dunko ball, man. Like it's not a dunk contest. Like I get what you're saying. I didn't see like look, I could be wrong. And truly like Shaden Sharp could literally explode for like 25 points per game next year. It could definitely happen, and if Portland holds on to him, You know,
Okay.
maybe he is that guy. I didn't like the defensive intensity. The impact metrics tell me that he's not a superstar. This doesn't look like a superstar to me. Like
I,
those impact metrics have never like look at Vince's first year. I understand that Shaden's younger. Shit, look at LeBron's first year.
right.
Look at Tyreek's first year. Look at Evan Mobley's first year. Look at Scottie's first year. Like I've never seen a player ascend to superstardom after putting up 0.03 win shares per 48. It's just there's
Right.
a lot of stuff he's doing that's not impacting winning. He is definitely a part. Him playing so many minutes is definitely a part of why Portland was bad last year, in my opinion,
Well,
because he didn't
it's
impact winning.
I think he's listen. I think that he didn't come into the draft as well as a quote unquote defensive player, but he also wasn't bad at defense, like aggressively bad. You
We
know,
didn't know what he was. We hadn't seen him play basketball in a year.
true, true.
So like it's hard to gauge a guy from AAU and basically like high school tape. But I'll tell you right now, relative to his comparables, like in that draft, he underperformed Jalen Williams, Ben Matherin, and Dyson Daniels this past year statistically.
I'm
And you
sticking
might
by.
say on volume he was better, but if you're gonna give him plus points for having big hands and having a big vertical and you know having a smooth jump shot, I get that, but you know, there's another guy who fit that exact mold that didn't turn into anything close to, you know, a superstar, and that's J.R. Smith, Nick
I,
Young. Like those guys were super athletes too. Like not
yeah,
quite Shaden Sharp, but they
yeah.
were really, really athletic, and they could dunk and they could shoot. But at some point, you gotta want it mentally.
So
Like I
a
saw
couple,
more from Benedict Mathurin this year, and I'm not a Benedict Mathurin fan at all, than I saw from Shaden Sharp.
right. Uh, I think Shaden's going to, or I think what he showed is that he has a bit more of a polished all round game than Ben Math. He's a better 3 point shooter, and that as the years go on,
Mm-hmm.
and like learns how to win, like learns how to play properly because Dame plays properly, and he's gonna
Dame
hunt.
doesn't guard a soul either. I'm tired. I'm tired of listening to like people talk about how like Dame needs help. Dame needs help. Dame's one of my favorite players, but he is a really big part of why Portland is consistently so bad on defense because he's terrible defender.
Is Dame okay? So the whole 16 game player versus 82 game player that Draymond.
Mm-hmm.
Dame is the ultimate 16 game player, right? And
Fair.
so there, while throughout the year he's bad at defense. If and when push comes to shove and it's time for him to play defense, he'll
Mm-hmm.
play. You know, and I
Right.
see that. I can see that about Shaden Sharp as well. Obviously, there's no visual proof to prove that. I just think that given his God given skills and seemingly the work that he's put into it got him to the point where down the stretch he was averaging 25 points a game with like some assists, like he was distributing as well and lighting it up
Yeah.
from
No,
and
I get that, but he still wasn't defending. I think you know to me, okay, like in all fairness, I think if I had to do a redraft of 2022 right now, Shaden Sharp goes top five.
yeah,
But
100.
Jalen Williams also goes top five, man. Like I tell you right now,
Oh,
he's going above him. Like for me, what I saw from Jalen Williams this year, like, is the makings of a star. What I saw from Shaden Sharp was the tools to become a star, and
right,
there is a difference. Like it's one thing, you know. I remember talking to Kevin O'Neill, and this was back in 2004, and we were talking, and he
former
said, yeah,
coach.
former coach, the
Oh,
Raptors, and we were talking about Vince Carter, and he said, in theory, Vince should be the best defender in the NBA.
right,
In
right,
theory, he could block 2 shots a game, grab 2.5 to 3 steals a game. He can gap literally any pass he wants. He just doesn't want to be.
right,
And that was sort of his criticism quietly about Vince because, you know, KO was like, he was a defensive coach. He really
right,
believed in defense and he really wanted Vince to play defense, but he just couldn't get him to do it. You
right,
can't get buy in on that end from some guys. And I don't think Shaden Sharp has ever shown me that he really cares about playing defense. Jalen
right,
Williams has shown me that he cares about playing both ways. I think he's really shown me like a game like mentally. You know, when I think about MVPs, like who am I thinking about? I'm thinking about a list of really smart players that have very little. Like Vince never won MVP. Magic did. Which of those two are more athletically gifted? Nikola Jokic won two MVPs,
Right.
right? Um, LeBron is really like the super athlete, and Michael is a super athlete. And we often look at those two guys, but they're also super mental athletes.
Right.
Kobe
Sure.
wasn't a super athlete. Kobe was a pretty average athlete by NBA standards. Kobe, Eddie Jones, like these guys, Latrell Sprewell, these were not super athletes. These were not freaky athletes. It's not like Kobe had some sort of athletic gifts that Jalen Williams doesn't have.
Right.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has often, kind of come to talk about like how he's not a great athlete either. He was kind of like a below the rim type of guy.
Right.
So at some
Well,
point, I got to say, like the brain does win out.
I will interject with so J what J Dub has in terms of like he has physical stature, which he very much uses to his advantage. Like he's huge for
Hmm.
the position that he plays. And so like as a shooting guard, I think he's like a thick 6'8", which if you're a thick 6'8" and you're mobile enough to guard, but you're also big enough to bully guys on the other end.
Hmm.
I mean, not the same sort of athleticism where you can jump at the gym, but it is a physical advantage of some kind.
Yeah.
Uh, so listen, I'm not. I love J Dub. I love him. I think he's a phenomenal player. I just think I'm sticking with my guns. I love Gavoni. Gavoni drafted him, so like I don't want to say Gavoni drafted him, but Portland hired Jonathan Gavoni to go through the draft, and they took him. Even though there were Dyson Daniels was still on the board, J Dub was still on the board. Who else was there? Mark Williams, Jalen Duren, Akbaji, Tari Eason was still on the board. Like there was still like some pretty good players.
Hmm.
And he took Shaden Sharp first. I'm like, yeah, I'll I'll go with that. But listen,
John's been wrong a lot, but let's leave that. Okay. Let's just put it that way. Okay, J Dub. Okay, so who's your next pick?
okay, so I am gonna go
Enough vamping or whatever you're doing right now. Okay, like we need is it vamping like or riffing? I don't know
Rick.
what they call riffing. Okay, you're just like kind of like putting off the inevitable where you have to make this like disastrous choice for your team that you're assembling here of future hypotheticals.
Not disastrous at all. I'll go Paolo here.
Paolo. Okay, Paolo. Okay. All right. So we got one, two. So just to recap here, we got Victor Wembanyama, then Scoot Henderson, Scottie Barnes, Evan Mobley, Franz Wagner, Shaden Sharp, Jalen Williams, Paolo Banchero. Okay.
Who are you going next? You going with an unknown? You're gonna go Brandon Miller?
No, I'm not. Um, damn. Hold on. I'm gonna look real quick. I gotta cheat for a second here. 2022 draft. Because it's just like I know that Franz, Scottie, and Mobley have already been picked, and I don't think I'm taking anyone else in the 21 draft in this high. But I gotta look at that 2022 draft. Hang on. I'm thinking. Hmm. Damn, it does get tricky from here, right? Because I mean, like on
Wait,
potential alone, I have to say, like Jabari Smith, to me, I still believe in him. Like I believe in him so hard. But I'm like, man, taking him over Cade, that would be a tough thing. I also really believe in Dyson Daniels
there's
here.
also
What?
there's also Chet.
There's also Chad Holmgren. Um, okay. I am going to go with hmm. Oh man, why is this so hard? Okay.
Calling for Cade here.
Hmm?
Leslie is calling for Cade.
No. Um, Again, without the benefit of hindsight, of course, you take Cade, but now you have his measurements and everything. Um, I'm gonna go with Emin Thompson.
Wow. Surprise pick.
Yeah, I like big playmakers, man. What can I say?
We'll see. They say his swing skill is shooting. If he learns how to shoot, he's going to be unstoppable.
I think he's got a bit of a killer streak, man. I like him.
Okay. So now I'm got so it's between Cade
Şengün, Jalen Green,
there,
Brandon Miller,
Jabari.
and Jabari and Chet. Oh my God. Okay.
I think I'm going Chet next.
Okay. Chet. I'm
There,
going. I'm going Josh Giddey.
Giddy over Cade.
Yep.
That's a that's a ballsy move.
Is it really that ballsy? Josh Giddey's been amazing, and
He
Cade
no,
has not figured out how to shoot yet.
he's very good. I feel like didn't he get better as the year went on shooting
Cade?
last? No, Giddy.
Giddey's been awesome, man. Like, I mean, 6'8", like truly, truly, truly crafty finisher and playmaker and facilitator, super smart player. Not really that great a defender at all, but like, I mean, his trend line is going up, up, up. I like what I've seen so far from him for sure.
Okay, so you just gifted me Cade here.
Yep,
Um, I'm
take him.
doing okay. You going Brandon Miller next?
I don't think so. Okay, so
Ooh,
you got Cade. So now we got Jalen Green, Trey Murphy, Dyson Daniels. Chet is off the board. I could look at Brandon Miller here. I don't want to be the person to pick him. I just don't. I don't want to pick him. I just don't. There's something in my head that is stopping me from picking Brandon Miller here. Um,
He's a really good shooter and very fluid.
Hey man, he can come out next year and average 23 points per game, and I'll look like a complete moron. And quite frankly, you look like a moron too because you took fucking Shaden Sharp over him. But I
Oh,
took Franz Wagner over him. Um,
you
yeah,
took
that
high,
I
bro.
took Franz Wagner over a lot of people, bro. Like I don't know why. Look, 6'10" with those ball skills, you just can't teach that. I'm sorry. Like that is like future all star cemented. Like Franz is gonna be an all star like 4, 5, 6 times. At worst. Like he's really good. Like his analytics are speaking to me in like a way of like this guy's gonna be third team all NBA at some point. Um Okay, so to recap, how many picks we got? Victor, Scoot, Scottie, Mobley, Franz, Sharp, J Dub, Paolo, Emin Thompson, Chet, Giddy, Cade. Am I crazy for wanting to pick Alperen Şengün here,
Yes,
given that he is not that good a defender?
yes,
But
of course, of course. You'd be crazy to take Şengün here.
I'm gonna take Şengün.
Wow, I I kind of I kind of said that knowing that
You
you
were
were
gonna pick him next?
Şengün.
Yeah,
Okay, so you don't want to be the guy that takes Brandon Miller.
I do not.
Look at Jabari's still on here. Keegan Murray's still on here.
Keegan's not getting picked in the top 20 in this. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay, I am gonna go.
I'll take Walker Kessler over Keegan Murray. Is that a hot take? I would still take Jaden Ivey over Keegan Murray. Yep.
Really?
I would consider Jalen Duren over Keegan Murray. There are
Uh,
quite a lot of players I would pick over him. Not
Or
a quite not like in a not in a sort of insulting way. I just feel like Keegan is like the eighth player in a draft instead of a fourth player in a draft. It's great that you're able to use him, but like I don't see like are you seeing like an all-star ceiling on him? Or are you seeing more of like a third, fourth guy on a pretty good team type ceiling from him? And look, maybe I'm wrong because he's like a little bit of an older prospect, so I'm like, unfairly assigning a sort of floor to him, but or a lower ceiling to him. But just athletically, defensively, I didn't like what I saw from him this year.
I mean, defensively, he knows where to be. He might not have
He's
lightning.
smart. He's smart. Like for sure,
Yeah.
he's smart and he's big. So like I mean, there's only so bad he can be defensively because matchup versatility. He'll be able to guard some fours, some threes, whatever. But I just feel like if you get into a deep playoff run, like he's gonna get spammed. Like he's gonna get exploited a little bit.
Well, I guess there is a reason he didn't play that much. Or he played a little less in the Golden State series there than,
Hmm.
than, than some of the other guys. Like I think
Yeah.
like Malik Monk
Yeah.
got a lot more. So I'm torn between. So this next one, I'm torn between Miller, Case, and Wallace, or oh, I don't want to tell you my next guy, or else you're gonna just scoop him from me. Okay, I'm gonna go Brandon Miller.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for taking him off the board
Yeah,
so that I
I
don't look like even more of an asshole for just keep leaving him there.
I did
Because
you
this is like, oh man.
Jalen Green
Okay.
there.
And I'm not taking him either. Um,
I think it's is not really talked about as too much, but because Houston fell to 4, if they take Amon Thompson and they have a Thompson Jalen Green backcourt, holy shit, that is
hmm.
a that is a athletically gifted backcourt right there, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm trying to like evaluate my own blind spots here, like, and I'm actually like writing out the two teams as opposed to the order right now. So I'm just trying to show like who our teams are right now.
Right. Well, you
So
you got the benefit of getting Vic, so
that's fair. That's
there's a
fair.
little, there's a
Um,
little skew.
like it's a little bit skewed, but
Yeah,
even if I took Victor and Scoot out of the equation, technically I still go first. But still,
sure.
like, would you take a team of Scottie, Franz, Jalen Williams, Eamon Thompson? I mean, you realize every single player that I've picked is a great passer.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Mobley's not a great passer. Shaden's not a great passer. Paolo is. Chet's kind of okay. Kate's
Okay.
okay. Miller's not. So my team is just all playmakers. Now let me see if I picked a bad defender. Yeah, I picked a lot of bad defenders. Fucking hell. Okay, my next pick is Dyson Daniels to make up for all the shitty defense that I got on my team right now.
Okay, you're going Dyson.
Let me just make sure that I'm not completely losing my mind here. Yeah, I'm gonna take Dyson. I like Dyson.
I'm next. I am going. I had him queued up here. I'm going. Hold on. Do I like? Should we be keeping in mind like?
Vegan Grass saying Cade an okay passer. Yes, he is hella overrated as a passer. Like if you think he's like Scottie great as a passer, like you're not watching the games, man. Like he's good. Like he's a good passer. He's a good playmaker. He's a competent playmaker. If you're running your offense through him though, like you're fucked.
I got Scoot, and he's probably the best passer in this entire list. So,
Scoot.
uh, top
Yeah, I mean, you're splitting hairs here, man. Scottie's a great passer, yo, and Scottie's got the benefit of 6 inches on him.
true, true. I will say that. Yeah, that's true. The best passer in the league is 7 foot Serbian dude. So,
That is true. Size matters.
um, so I'm just
Hey,
looking. So I've got Scoot is a he's a point. Mobley is a 4-5.
okay, pick your next one. I'm just gonna go grab some coffee and some water. Hang on. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Have a pick though. Like I got to think about this too. I'm gonna take my little piece of paper with me and be like, Man, what do I need? Because I have a feeling like my next like four. Because I like, are we constructing a team here, or are we just constructing a draft?
This this is exactly what I was asking. I'm just like I'm not
Because
keeping
if you
this
want to construct a team, I need some fucking defense to make up for the shitty ass defense. Like I don't think Victor can solve every problem.
through. Well, you do have the best. You have the best like defender by far out of everyone here.
I don't think so.
Nope.
Yeah, I do. But the second best defender is still on the board. Just saying.
Who's the
I,
second defender?
I'm not giving you cheats. I'm not giving you cheat sheet. Like fuck you.
Come on.
But Herb Jones, man.
Oh fuck! I'm not taking fucking Herb Jones here.
And this is exactly why your team's gonna lose. Okay. Yeah.
When we put this hypothetical teams together on a basketball court. Okay, Chad, help me out here. Someone take Koloko. Vince take Jeremy Sohan. Kate is an okay passer. Okay, I think I'm going. You know what? I'm going to take a leap, and I'm going Kobe Bufkin because I want Kobe on my team. He's a very good passer, and he is a great rim finisher, which I'm going to need because he's going to be going up against Victor Wembanyama.
Okay, I got my next pick.
Okay, good. I took Kobe Bufkin.
What? Oh my god. Okay. You
I
have
believe
officially lost it. Okay,
it.
I'm taking Jabari Smith.
Okay, you're going Jabari. That's a good pick right there. Okay. What do I need? So Scoot is a point. Mobley's a 4-5. Shaden Sharp is a shooting guard. Paolo is another 4. Chad is a 5. So I mean I've got good positional versatility. Cade's a 3. 3/point guard. Brandon Miller. Kobe Bufkin. You kidding me? My team rakes.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, okay, so you just picked Jabari.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go. Okay. So left from the 2021 draft is essentially Jalen Green.
And Jalen Suggs. Everyone's favorite Kyle Lowry replacement.
And Trey Murphy is probably one of the better guys on that list.
He is.
I may go him, but let's see. Oh, is so you think Trey Murphy is going to be better than Keegan Murray? It's two shooters side by side, rest of their careers.
I think it's close, but I think I could make a case for Trey Murphy. Yeah, for sure. I love him. I love him. I wanted him and Dyson in every single trade package I proposed at the trade deadline.
Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? We're gonna have to take photos of this. Keep it in our
Okay,
back.
by the way, may I just say, like everything you like about Kobe Bufkin, like how did you not take Jaden Ivey?
Is how good was Jaden Ivey as a rim finisher?
I mean,
And
he's one
Kobe.
of the he's probably the fastest player in the league now. He's the one player that got Fred VanVleet benched this year. Like the one player. I don't want to say benched, but like Jeff Doughton was playing all those Detroit games because they couldn't keep anyone in front of Jaden Ivey except for him.
Right.
Like in terms of rim pressure, like being able to beat your man off the dribble like at will. I mean, you put some more talent around Jaden Ivey, like he could be really good. Okay, I think again, Sacramento had a lot of success this year, and I'm not throwing shade at anything, but like I feel like they're in 5 years they're gonna look back on that and just be like, "Ugh, what were we
Right.
doing?"
Listen, I'm going Case and Wallace next.
A lot of 2023 rookies here, eh? Okay, all
I got
right.
to claim
Keep
that
keep
this.
keep taking these hypotheticals, bro.
Yeah.
All right, I love Kaysen, but like, I mean, come on. Okay, I'm actually surprised that I took. I'm surprised that I took Dyson over Kaysen. I'd compare them very, very, very favorably. I just think Dyson's a bigger playmaker. Okay, my next pick is gonna be it's either gonna be Trey Murphy or Walker Kessler. Where am I going here? I am gonna go with I'm gonna go with well, I got Victor and I got Shengun, and I'm already like I'm also thinking about Jalen Duren at some point. God damn it. Hang on one sec. And Ben Matherin's on the board, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Worth mentioning. Um okay. Just gonna quickly Google Jalen Duren stats because I have a feeling he was incredibly good this year for a really bad team, and I don't know why they benched him. Because to me, that's just like wow, like y'all crazy. I'm gonna take Jalen Duren.
Jalen Duren.
Yep,
You're going for proven talent. You're not
it's
into
not.
fickle.
It's not, bro. He's young.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, guys who have played versus guys who haven't played in the league.
and my next two picks are gonna be Jalen Suggs and Jalen Green, just so I can have four Jalen's.
Oh, nice.
Yep,
Okay, now I know how you're going here.
yep. It's just that's how it's gonna go. It's gonna be all Jalen's from here on out.
You already have Jalen Williams.
Yep. I have Jalen Williams and Jalen Duren. So yeah,
God damn, that's a popular ass name.
it is. Fat Five. Shout out. One, two. We're I'm at 10. So we got three more picks each. Well, you got four picks. I got three picks left.
Okay. So Ben Math is up there.
Someone's saying Jeremy Sohan is getting disrespected. No, he is not.
The next what do they call
The
him?
next Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman. No, I gotta stick by my claim. I gotta stick by my claim. I'm going Jarris Walker.
What the fuck? Okay.
Bro.
All right. Jarris Walker. All right. I am gonna go with. Man, it is tempting as hell to go Walker Kessler here, but I already have two centers. Do I need a third center? But technically, Victor's a four. So, yes, I do need a second center. I'm going to go Walker Kessler.
Okay. 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 I guess there's not a whole lot of room for like super specialized players here because you're always going to want guys who are more well-rounded. So there's not going to you're probably while Grady Dick might be better than some of these guys, most of the only thing he really does is like shoot.
I think he's a pretty decent slasher.
Yeah, shooter, slasher. I can't see him finishing at the rim all that well, and defense is probably going to be a little different than in college.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
If you don't take him, I already know my next two picks.
well, I'm sure you're going to go Ben Math at some point. Oh no, never mind. I'm going Jaden Ivey.
Fuck. That was my next pick. Shit. All right. Trey Murphy.
Nice one. He's going Trey. I'm going Keegan here.
All right. Damn. I feel like someone is gonna clip this and be like, "How the hell did they get 26 players in and not take Jalen Green?"
He's still on the board. You could take him.
He is on the board. I just don't like non-defenders. I feel like it's a pure pressure move to try to take him. I also think Anthony Black is on the board, and I think that wouldn't be the worst pick in the world right now. All right, let me swing for the fences here with the 2023 pick. Hang on. Because if it's not if it's not a 2023 pick, I might end up like taking a very safe pick and just going Herb Jones and calling it a day.
Right.
Because shit, like Herb Jones is awesome. Um, you took Brandon Miller.
I did.
I took Emin Thompson. You took Jarris Walker.
Yep.
Wow. All right. All right. So at
I,
this point, I'm thinking,
I- I'm
and you
not
took
taking
Kobe
my
Bufkin
what's that?
somehow, and you took Kobe Bufkin.
I gotta think.
All right. So there's a lot of wild cards at this point. I'm thinking if you didn't take Ben Mathurin, did you?
I did not know.
Shit. Do I want Ben Mathurin? I can't
There's
take Christian Coloco. There's no fucking way in hell. Because I already have like three centers. Like, how many centers do I want? I took Şengün, Jalen Duren, and Walker Kessler to pair with Victor Wembanyama. Y'all not grabbing a single rebound ever. Let me tell you that right now. No rebounds. No rebounds for Team Vince. Um,
It's true. It's true. Even my centers are poor rebounders.
yeah, y'all fucked. Um, I am very tempted at this point to pick Herb Jones. I gotta look at this though. Okay. See, this is where I would really, really start looking at Shaden Sharp, but you already took him like so fucking high. You took him so high. Um,
They don't call
chat,
him.
chat,
They don't
help
call.
me out. Help me out. Um, someone said Jalen Green is decidedly better than half these guys. Yeah, at half the game. At half the game, he's better than half these guys, but the game is played on two ends. Um,
It's a cogent point.
I'm really struggling with this last one. Help me out. Who are you planning on picking? Like, just so I can scoop him up, or at
What?
least I can one up your guy.
Hold on. Did you say one more pick each or two more? How many we go in?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, I mean, either we're building a 13-man roster or a 15-man roster. So, if we're picking 13-man roster, we're both at 12.
Let's go 15.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right. I feel suddenly a lot better. Okay. Herb Jones.
Okay. All right. Good. Because you said the guy that I wanted next, Anthony Black.
Fuck. All right. All right. I feel like Herb Jones opens the door for me to finally take Jalen Green off the board.
And for the record, I would have taken him next. Jalen Green. Okay. So you got more scoring punch, more threes. Okay. Now I am going to start thinking about rebounding.
Jeremy Sohan. I think this is the time where you might want to consider Christian Coloco. He's a really good rebounder, man.
Um,
Coloco would not be a bad pick here at all. But I mean, also like would be a terrible pick. Yeah, Mark Williams, man. Mark Williams is on the
that's,
board.
that's who I was leaning toward. I was going Mark Williams and just looking at my other center options over here. Şengün pretty early.
I picked
Oh man,
Şengün early.
yeah,
I
like
don't think. I don't
I
think
have
so. I look, man. Like I mean, let me tell you something. Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, sorry, Scottie Barnes. So Victor, Scott, Franz, Jalen Williams, Emin Thompson, Josh Giddey, Şengün, Dyson. Like, can you tell how much I value intelligent basketball players? Because it's like literally like a list of just really smart basketball players. Also pick Trey Murphy, a really smart player. Walker Kessler, really smart player. I mean, all my players are smart except for Jalen Green. Pick one dummy, and I'm going by the one dummy rule, and that's the rule that every NBA front office should abide by, which is the one dummy rule. Because if you have more than two dummies, then they hang out together, and then you have a problem on your hands. If you only have one dummy in a locker room.
That's true. That's oh wait, no, hold on. Cleveland had both Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith. So that maybe they were just like dummies with one another when they won the chip.
They also had LeBron James. He kept them in line. But yeah,
True.
typically it is the one dummy rule does exist in sports. It's,
So
it's, it's, it's not even the dummy rule. It's called the one knucklehead rule. You
yeah,
want only one knucklehead in the locker room.
uh, I'm going Mark Williams here.
Good pick. Mark Williams is great.
Yeah, I like Mark Williams.
Okay. So we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're at our final pick now.
Yep.
And you picked.
This is what you call the swing for the fences pick.
Wait, who was your last pick? Before Mark Williams? I just wrote Ant.
Anthony Black.
Oh, okay, there we go. Anthony Black. I was like, wait, was Ant-Man? Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, he would have gone way fucking higher than that.
Yeah, he would have gone like second. Anthony Black and Mark Williams. Now I'm looking at Jeremy Sohan. Maybe, no, not really. Did Ben Mathurin get taken yet?
He has not.
Okay, Ben Mathurin is my pick.
Ben Math. And for my final swing for the fences pick, I'm going G.G. Jackson.
Okay, cool.
That's just a Hail Mary.
Okay, so true to form, the guy who thinks that the 2023 draft class is the all-star class of the year, of the century, really, picks one. Oh my God.
How many have I got here?
Okay, I can't read my own writing. Who was your second? Your first pick was, I wrote Mobley.
Yep.
Okay. Stop abbreviating everything, Rob. Okay. You have 1, 2, Brandon Miller, Kobe, Kaysen, Jarris. You have 5. Then you have Anthony Black. That's 6. And you have G.G. Jackson. That's 7. Like half your team is 2023 draft picks.
That's right.
How many 2023 draft picks do I have? Victor Wembanyama, Emin Thompson. That's it. I only have 2. Because you took Kaysen, and he's the other guy I would have taken. And you took Anthony Black. And Anthony Black would have gone over Ben Mathurin and Jalen Green for me. And Herb Jones. So, wait a second. That's not even true. I took Herb Jones over Anthony Black. That I fucked up. I fucked up for sure there.
I was waiting on that one too because you said his name. I was like, "Fuck, don't take Anthony Black. Come on, baby."
Yeah, I fucked up because Herb Jones is also older too. Oh man.
What I said at the beginning of this whole process was like, I feel like all the guards, like a bunch of guards in this draft, are going to be really good. I think they're going to be all-star. Like pretty much every guard on here, I think is going to be an all-star.
I gotta be honest. Like if I had not taken Şengün plus Jalen Duren plus Walker Kessler, I 100% was gonna take Christian Koloko. I believe in the hell out of him, and I'm surprised he didn't go off the board. I think he didn't go off the board because you picked guys like G.G. Jackson. But hey, man, like I mean, okay, like let us know in the chat like who you think won. I don't think it's particularly close. Actually,
Well,
it is close because look, like I was obviously like pretty sour on Cade, and I almost protested by not picking him, even though in reality Cade as a prospect is better than Emin Thompson as a prospect. He would go above him in almost every single draft.
right.
I've definitely used the benefit of hindsight a lot here in terms of what I know about what these players became. But I mean that's kind of the point. but Walker Kessler over Keegan Murray, I think makes sense. I really do. Um,
Oh shit! You know what?
did
I
we forget
forgot.
someone like horribly impressive?
No, you know who we missed? We missed Jordan Hawkins.
I can I can I take Jordan Hawkins instead of Ben Mathurin? Can I undo that pick?
No, but I can take Jordan Hawkins instead of Gigi Jackson, which I'm going to do.
Why?
Yeah,
Why do you get to do that and I
because
don't get
I
to
had
do
the last
that?
pick. I had the last pick, and you got Vic, so I get to do it.
Oh fuck. I like Jordan Hawkins, and quite frankly, I think his movement shooting will be and Ben Mathurin doesn't play a lick of defense either.
True.
Um,
He
I'm
can be.
actually kind of shocked at how high I took Dyson Daniels. I'm even more shocked at how high I took Giddy.
Well, listen, guys like Dyson Daniels, it's almost like taking a guy from this draft.
Hmm.
So far as he didn't really get to, like, he
Someone
got,
saying no Emin Thompson, bro. I took him fifth.
yeah,
I took him very high, like insanely high. I can't believe
no,
how high I took him. I can't believe I took him over Josh Giddy.
Noah Sarr Thompson.
No, he
Maybe,
means
maybe that's what the guy meant, possibly.
no. I took Emin.
Yeah, yeah,
No, Azar Thompson is also kind of crazy,
yeah.
given that you took Gigi Jackson.
I took
Yeah.
Jordan Hawkins, remember?
Nope. Nope. Yo, I wanna change I wanna change my last two picks. I went totally against type. I picked Jalen Green and Ben Mathurin, even though I did not want to. I got bullied. I got bullied by an invisible bully that I'm not seeing right now, and they were like, Rob, you hate these types of players that do not play defense and put up buckets on. I don't even know why the fuck I put. It's not like these guys are even gonna be on the court. I should have just gotten really good practice players instead. I got like hyped up, Michael Jordan wannabes who both think that they're him.
That's funny.
I have created the worst roster in the history of the world.
The book on Ben Mathurin hasn't been written yet. You don't know. He may like if he just rounds out. He just needs to round out his game. It's got to be more than just scoring, right? And
Yeah,
I think he's on the right team to do that. I think what's his name? Rick Carlisle's a good coach. I think they'll get him to work on the right stuff.
okay. Here are the players that you took Shaden Sharp over. I want everyone to just hear this. You took him over Jalen Williams, Paolo Banchero, Emin Thompson, Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey, Cade Cunningham,
Yep,
Alperen Şengün,
I'm sticking by it.
Brandon Miller, Dyson Daniels, Kobe Bufkin, Jabari Smith, Cason Wallace, Jalen Duren, Jarris Walker, Walker Kessler. Wow.
Yep, I'm
But I
sticking by.
mean, the tier after the top four ish, 4 5, kind of goes down a bit. So, I mean, look, I'm not gassing up Paolo's 20 points per game. I realize some people are probably gonna look at that and be like, Rob, you're fucking crazy. Like, how is Paolo not top four here? Because he put up 20 points per game. Another not great defender, but a big playmaker. I think Paolo is too low here, in my opinion. And but I have a hard time taking him over Jalen Williams. I would definitely, however, take Paolo over Shaden Sharp. Like, no questions asked. Neither
So
one of
if
those guys play defense. Paolo's slightly better. Yeah, I would take Paolo over him. I would take Paolo over Emin Thompson, Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey, Cade Cunningham, Şengün, Miller. So somehow you got him, but like, yeah, he would have been my next pick there.
if you throw out the Vic pick overall, like let's say we get rid of Vic and Scoot,
Hmm.
I think my team could compete with yours, no problem.
I think it could, but it wouldn't.
How do we figure out a way to
Like it could if my team, like, I don't know, didn't show up, got stuck on the bus, got stuck in an elevator, suffered 4 or 5 torn ACLs before the game, had some cramping maybe like 3, 4, players suffered some unfortunate, family crises that they had to respond to. I think that's the only way. Because I mean, like, look, man, there's so much playmaking here and so much play finishing here. Like, I could float this in 100 different ways, but Scottie Barnes, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Williams, bro,
Come
like
on.
that's insane. And Emin Thompson, like that's a 1, 2, 3, 4 that you cannot contend with. And my five is going to be either, like a beast like Şengün offensively, or it's going to be a beast defensively like Jalen Duren or Walker Kessler. I mean, really, there's no 5-man unit that you can put out there that's going to compete with that. Like Paolo, Mobley, Shaden Sharp, Chet Holmgren, you're not competing. You're
I
not
think
competing. And then on top of that, like my entire bench is like really, really talented NBA polished players. Like I took the Herb Jones, the Trey Murphy, and need I remind you, like the end of my bench, even though I am very upset with my Jalen Green and Ben Mathurin, caving to bullying, they're so much better than Jordan Hawkins right now. And as prospects. Like Jordan Hawkins versus Jalen Green in a draft, like that's not even close. Like we can argue later down he'll be better, but if these players are all playing at 19, my team mops the floor with your team, in my opinion.
I don't know, man. I got some good shooting. I think you haven't learned enough lessons from the Toronto Raptors this year, saying that like just having playmaking isn't all you need. You need more than
You
that.
you do have shooting. You do have shooting. You do have some shooting here. Anthony Black's not a good shooter though. Mark Williams not a good shooter. You did take you cheated by swapping Gigi Jackson for Jordan Hawkins. So you swapped in a really good shooter at the end, just so you have the humble bragging rights of being this great shooting team.
That's right.
But hey, like I mean, you're right. I haven't picked enough shooters, but I also have Victor Wembanyama who can block all your shooters with like his elbow. So I think I
True.
think I'm good. I'm good there. But you're right. If there's one weakness on my team, it is for sure shooting. I'm going to be relying on Trey Murphy. Shit, I have no shooting. Trey Murphy and Victor Wembanyama are my shooters. Um, in a weird way, Jalen Green and Ben Mathurin are going to be
We'll
starting
say
on this team. They were the 14th and 15th pick because of my lack of outside shooting. They're going to be starting somehow. Yeah, I really do prioritize playmaking a lot more than I prioritize shooting, partly because I'm just brainwashed as a Raptor fan into believing that anyone can learn how to shoot. But you're right. Swing skill is going to be shooting for all these guys. Um, but I
I
think I just have really big playmakers.
look at okay. Check out these lasers. So
Also, my team is so much bigger than yours. My shortest player is Emin Thompson at 6'6". Do you realize that? You
you
have
have
you have so many small guards. You have shit. You I mean, you pick Scoot number one. So I mean, for shit, like you started out with a player that's smaller than every player on my team. I did not pick a single player under 6'6". Jalen Green is 6'5". He's my smallest player.
hold
That's
on.
wild.
Actually, Scoot
I'd
is
kill you on size.
Scoot is my smallest player for sure.
Yes.
But
Um,
I
Scoot 6'2". You also pick Kaysen, who's about 6'2.5".
I got some size. Like, check this out. Check this out. Where is he? So we've got Mobley. He's got some size. I've got Chet. Got some size. I've got Cade. That's a big point guard right there.
He's 6'6". He would be my smallest player.
Brandon Miller, 6'8". Kobe Bufkin, 6'4". Okay, then we get a little small. Jarris Walker's got some beef, bro. Jaden Ivey, he's small.
And you got Jordan Hawkins, who's about 6'4".
True. Maybe I should get Gigi Jackson instead.
Swap again. Vince is gonna be up. Vince is gonna like wake up his wife at like 4 a.m. I'm swapping again.
Yeah,
I got to swap out.
I'm swapping.
Um. Okay. I mean, this was an interesting exercise, but it does. I mean, like I don't agree with Scoot over Scottie. So I'm a little bit like I think it's a debate. I think Scottie, Mobley, and Scoot is a debate. I think Franz is in that debate.
I actually felt I was kind of bummed because I thought for sure you would take Mobley over Scottie because earlier on you said that Mobley was the better player now.
He is, but Scottie is him. Like I know for a fact that like it matters to me that you show up in the playoffs, and whether we can argue statistically that Mobley is a better player right now, I could also argue Franz is a better player right now. But I think Scottie's going to be the best player in that draft.
Right.
I think he'll turn into the best player in that draft eventually. I don't know. I know it kind of it's like sometimes growth is weird. Like growth is, it's not all linear. Sometimes it's bumpy. Sometimes injuries play a part. I was just thinking about like look at Rui Hachimura. Like I talk so much shit about Rui Hachimura and his terrible ass defense in Washington. And I said like there's nothing on this team that I would give up to get Rui Hachimura. And then boom, he's leading the Lakers in scoring in the first half because he's just a smart player who can read well off of LeBron. And I'm looking at all the ways that the Lakers have sort of reclaimed a lot of these guys that have come into the fold for them. And great job. Like first of all, like just scouting and bringing in the right players to put around LeBron. But like coaching, system, fit, there's so many things that are going to impact how a guy plays on a night-to-night basis.
That's true.
And situationally speaking, like I think the Raptors need to find a Rui Hachimura type, like someone who's just being underutilized on another system, in another team, maybe being a little undervalued, and unlock him because the Raptors haven't really done that in a while.
Yeah. I mean, Rui tends to be the type of guy that like benefits from playing alongside a LeBron type.
Everyone benefits from playing with LeBron and a Jokic. Like if you're a halfway decent smart player, like you benefit. Like even if a Scottie Barnes played like next to those guys, like I'm pretty sure with a smart player like Scottie, like he could probably beast backdoor and find like 10, 15 open attempts at the rim every single game. So I just look at that and I'm just like, how different our perception of certain players would be if they played in a better system, etc. So yeah, so I think about like a Alperen Şengün, sort of toiling away in Houston, but he's a hell of a playmaker at that size. He's a beast. He does like really, really good things with his body. He's like really coordinated. Not a great defender, not a good rim protector, but still a dynamic player at that size. Dyson Daniels, like I think this guy has tools. Like he has incredible tools as a big playmaker. I just like big playmakers. I just really, really like that. And I like the defense on my team, man. Jabari Smith, great defender, really big. Right? Jalen Duren, Walker Kessler, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. Like you're not scoring. Straight up. This is just clamps. This is just clamps. Vision 6'9". I have a name for my team.
Is it Vision 6'9"?
It's Vision 6'9".
Well, it should be Vision 7.
This is the actual Vision 6'9". Take notes, fucking Masai Ujiri. This is the actual Vision 6'9". Because I guarantee you, if I averaged out the heights of all these players, I would get to about 6'9". Especially with Victor being 7'5".
Yeah, but the one thing you didn't take into account is that sometimes, even if all your players are 6'9" and phenomenal defenders, if you if you have guys who can just shoot the lights out, it doesn't matter how big they are. They're just going to shoot, and they're going to drill shots. That's it.
I don't think that's the case. I think I'm looking at what the Boston Celtics have done, and generally speaking, I think that teams that are just across the board bigger, like playing bigger with Robert Williams, Al Horford, like they're just shutting down all of these lanes, and also like these are not non-defenders that we're talking about here. These are all really good defenders.
Yeah. Everyone on that team is a fantastic defender. Everyone on that team is a very good defender and a very good shooter. It's that's really the recipe right there. Derek White, like not huge. Same with what's his name? Guy off the six man. Rookie.
Here are the heights of the players on my team: 7'5", 6'9", 6'10", 6'6", 6'6", 6'8", 6'11", 6'7", 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, 6'9", 6'7", 6'5", 6'6".
Wow.
It's a big team. It's a fucking big team.
You got a big team.
No Fred VanVleet's allowed. Yeah. Basically, like Fred VanVleet. This is Fred VanVleet's nightmare. That's the new team. That's the new name for this team. It's called Fred's Nightmare.
There you go.
It's just nothing but arms, nothing but limbs everywhere. Anyway, This was a very fun exercise, and I think it like hopefully goes to show just how much talent has come into the league because Jordan Hawkins and Ben Mathurin were the last players picked in a 30-person draft, and I don't think that it's outside of the realm of possibilities that those guys are going to become all stars.
Right. What's
They could,
crazy is that these 30 guys, they're going to be displacing 30 guys in the NBA, right? Like in the next year or two, right?
well, I mean, they already have. Some of them already have. I mean, half your team hasn't come into the league yet, but yes, those guys. Yeah, I mean, you look at guys like Thaddeus Young and you say, like, how many more years does he have in the NBA? How many more years does a Patrick Beverly have? How many more years does, shit, if Otto Porter is injured again next year, how many more years does he have? Yeah, you're right. I think we're used to about 32 to 35, 37 guys in any draft class coming in. I think the league is dealing with this displacement issue by adding another two-way slot.
Right.
So there'll instead of two-way slots, there'll be three. So I
Right.
think a lot of these second round guys will get that third two-way slot.
Right.
So I think that's a way that the players union can sort of like still protect the older guys from being completely displaced. But you're right. At some point, rotation minutes are rotation minutes. Contract dollars are contract dollars. There's only so much money to go around, and if you're giving a max contract to one guy, it's because you're not giving it to another guy. Yeah, I do think that some of these guys are, I think the days of having someone just dead weight on your roster, like no offense, but like a Udonis Haslem, just kind of sitting there, break in case open type of player. Like, and I think, if you look at rosters in the early 2000s, there was a lot of those guys who were just kind of like veteran presence guys. I think that's tough now. It's a little bit tougher because, you could have a prospect, you know.
Yeah, I was wondering if they were ever going to introduce like a like a 17th man to the roster that's almost like a vet slash coach kind of guy, like Iguodala or like Haslam that you just outlined there. At
Hmm.
some, I think it would help. Like Jesus Christ, how many assistant coaches are on NBA teams now? It's
I mean,
insane.
it varies, right? Some teams have 4 or 5 assistant coaches. Some have 9, right? There's no set limit. There's only a set limit to how many can sit in the front,
Right.
like can be front of bench. But like you can have as many assistant coaches as you want. I'm pretty sure you could have 30 if you really wanted to.
I feel like there was like 3 rows of assistant coaches on the Raptors. It was insane. There's so
At
many.
one point, yes, there were a lot.
But okay, how are we gonna decide what's gonna be the deciding factor between whose team is ultimately better? Are we going by all star?
I'm gonna put them all on 2K, and I'm just gonna run a simulation and see who wins. I guarantee you, my team is winning,
Yeah.
in 2K. I mean, honestly, like just go matchup to matchup. Victor over Mobley, 100%. M and Scoot. I think that goes
Okay.
to Scoot.
I have an idea to make it a little bit more fair.
Oh my God.
Instead instead of making this into a 115-man team, let's make it into 3 teams of 5 guys each. So three starting fives, right?
So is it a
And
first team, second team, third team situation?
that's right. That's right. And then plug those into 2K and go from there. Because listen, Vic is going to win every time. Vic is going to be walking into the
I thought
league.
you might do this, man. I thought you might. That's why I planned ahead. I have defenders across the board. I have 3 centers. I have 3 point guards. I'm perfect. I have a perfect team. Um, okay, I'm down for this. Hold on, I'm gonna
Then
split it up.
next time we talk, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort through my team and give you my 3 starting fives so that they complement each other.
So they complement each other.
Yeah, a little bit more. Because I'm not going to have I'm not going to have
I mean, what
shape.
are you doing with this team, bro? Like, I mean, I'm assuming you're gonna put Scoot and Cade on different teams, and probably Kobe Bufkin on that third team.
Yeah, like I'm not putting Kobe Bufkin and Cason Wallace on the same team. I'm not. Although I wouldn't mind. I think they actually might complement each other pretty well.
I have a very small backcourt to deal with my 6'9" team.
I got
You know,
Anthony.
the only thing that all three of my teams are going to have in common is they're going to be bigger than all three of your teams,
That's right.
guaranteed.
That's true.
Um, yeah, I mean, look, like every single, like, I mean, it's very interesting that you proposed that. Like, I might actually end up putting Ben Mathurin or Jalen Green in a lineup with Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
You know what
There
I
you,
mean? Like, just to balance it out a little bit. Um,
it'll be like hockey lines.
yeah,
And then 5 years from now, we can look back on this thing and be like, okay, how many of these guys have made All-Star games? And then we can count the All-Star number.
is that going to be the measuring stick? Isn't
I
that
mean,
like how many which team had the most All Star?
it could be a measuring stick.
I mean, I'm gonna win that because all my guys are older than your guys.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
So it
that's not gonna be very fair to you because like most of my guys are in their third year and one of my guys is 26 years old right now. So like, and whereas your guys can't even drink in the United States right now. So I mean like, I
let's say
think
10 years. Let's say 10 years, not 5 years. And we'll come back after 10 years.
10 years.
You better
Okay.
be doing these pods in 10 years.
I better be doing these pods in 10 years. Yeah. That would be quite an interesting thing to see where Pensari basketball is 10 years from now.
That's true.
Yeah. We're actually I really look forward to the synergistic sort of growth of Pensari basketball and Penn Dance. I think like this year was like a really good intro into hopefully like if this podcast has even more of a reach, like because look, like advertising is hard, like money wise, reaching the target audience that you need. And Penn Dance is not just like, oh, movie lovers. Like, oh, we got to reach people who like movies. Like you like Transformers doesn't mean you're gonna like Penn Dance.
Right.
So finding people like who actually like really like, deep stuff, want to actually go into a theater and listen to someone talk about their film and Q&A and stuff. That audience is sometimes a little bit harder to find. It's like, yeah, you can technically pixel it with, okay, if they enjoy TIFF and Sundance, they might like Penn Dance or whatever, but I don't know. And honestly, like this year's festival was not a lot of work. I mean, some people are pretty surprised to hear that. It wasn't as much work as past editions. And so, yeah, like we're already working on next year's. Like we didn't start working on this year's until like December. So we're already working on next year's. It's going to be back in the winter, and I think it's going to be so much better. So I'm just curious to see like if Pensara basketball continues to grow 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 subscribers, how much more then can that help Penn Dance as well? That would be really interesting to see. And 10 years from now, holy shit. I
How
don't
do
know.
how do you get like the rights to show certain films?
So they submit. So every single film that you saw at Penn Dance, they submitted via Film Freeway. Um, so typically film festivals, they'll scout film festivals as
Yeah.
well. So you go to Sundance and you be like, oh, I really like that film. And then you talk to the filmmaker, be like, oh, you want to bring your film to Penn Dance as well. We used to do that a lot. This year, we didn't do that at all. This year, it's basically they submitted, they got their film in, and that's how it worked. Next year, we're going to go back to the scouting a little bit more. Probably going to be back to about a 50 film lineup as opposed to 30 films. Yeah, we just needed a gap year, man. Like honestly, the last 2 years were really tough with the pandemic and going virtual and stuff. And just to have a year where we didn't burn ourselves out and then we're like still recovering in September from like the exhaustion of the event. And now we're like, okay, now we got to plan 2024 to be able to basically come out of this event almost like unscathed and just be like, oh, we can start planning 2024 right now because we're not actually burnt out. And people who came had a good time and we did everything by the book, we did everything ethically, but we didn't like kill ourselves for this because usually there's like panels, workshops, there's like a director's lab, there's more films, there's more guests, there's more venues. Like it becomes so large. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it was hard enough to promote an event which was like basically in the same location for 3 fucking days. Now you
Sure.
start talking about promoting multiple screenings. We had 7 screenings. We've
Yeah.
had an event with 18 screenings. So it can get big. It can get really big, really fast. So I don't know.
Yeah,
But
you'd have
yeah,
to
we need
branch out into several theaters if you do that.
typically, yeah. And like next year we'll be at TIFF Bell Lightbox for sure. I don't know if we'll be back at the Carlton. I think it proved to be a very interesting, experience. Really like the theater. They do support art house film, which I really appreciate about them. Like just historically, they've always supported art house film, which I really appreciated. Did not appreciate the air conditioning breaking down and us having to run fans and ice buckets. That was not cool. But, I mean, they did their best to help us. They were super, super nice about it, and they helped us. They helped us a lot, and they were really, again, they were just really sweet. And they really wanted to see us. And my girlfriend went and picked up our hard drives, and she's like, and the theater projectionist Tyler was like, oh, I hope we see you guys again next year. So
Nice.
yeah, it would be really nice. I think like next year the structure. Have you been to the Paradise Theater on
Uh,
Bloor?
Bloor and is
It's a
that
little it's a little bit west of Spadina. I can't remember exactly where, but like it's a really cool it's a real cool theater. And they have like an event space as well, so you can like kind of host like a party and drinks and dinner and stuff like that. So we were thinking of like doing an opening night with an opening screening there, then transitioning over to TIFF, Isabel Bader Theater, and maybe Carlton Cinema for some shorts.
yeah.
And so doing that Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then doing the Thursday opening. So you have a 4-day film festival. So often, like you build so much good word of mouth, like after the second day, that you're
Yeah.
just like, I wish I had another week of this festival because we'd sell out everything because we've built up so much word of mouth. So yeah, but I am, making myself a promise, like two promises really, which was number one, there's 225 days left in this year. This year, my life is going to change 100%. Like I'm not putting up with any more garbage this year. I told my girlfriend too. I was just like straight up. I'm like, yo, you no more toxic behavior. Like we're past that. Like this year is gonna be toxic free. I'm not fucking dealing with any more bullshit. I'm just so through with it. I just really like everything. Like I'm starting to toss out things. Like I don't know, like decluttering everything. I want to fix everything. Um, yeah. I
Yeah,
just
bro.
I want to get my new laptop. I've been using a 2012 laptop, and people have been dealing with this grainy ass. Um, everyone who comes on this fucking show has a better picture quality than I do, which is funny, but like it's true. Also, like I don't know, yo, okay, look, you're gonna laugh at this. Look at my phone.
Are you on a laptop camera?
Yeah, I am. Do you see the
Oh,
back of my phone?
oh, I've seen your phone. It's got some cracks. Oh no, no, I've seen it
No, no,
live.
no. The back is cracked. The
Yeah.
front is fine. The front is fine. It's got no cracks. It's the back is cracked. But do you know why the back is cracked?
Why?
Because the battery is swelling on the inside.
Oh right, yeah, 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 sure.
Oh my God, I need to get rid of this thing. This is like a bomb.
Uh,
I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, why, like, I'm not poor. Like, I'm not broke. Like, I should have fucking fixed this a long time ago. So it's just like, you know what it is? Like, I took so much care to fix this place up when I was younger, like when I was like 23, 22, when I bought this place. Like, I fixed up everything, like everything. Like, and now it's just like over years and years and years of neglect, everything's kind of like falling apart. The baseboard's a little bit chewed up because my dog. The couch is really, cut up because of my girlfriend's cat. Like the piano hasn't been tuned in a while. And I just feel like when so many things in your life are just like kind of mismanaged or like not even mismanaged, they're like kind of just old or need to be discarded or whatever, you start like those things start feeling heavy. Because every time I look at the piano, it's like I'd love to play that piano, but I know it's out of tune. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, that's just what I want to fix that. And I guess the second promise I made to myself was Penn Dance 2024 is gonna be like the best Penn Dance ever.
hey man, if the first one was any indication, I'm sure it's on its way up.
It's the sixth one.
And
You
and
attended the sixth one.
no, sorry, not
First one for you.
first one. I should have said this
Yeah,
year.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it's just yeah, we can do so much better. I know we can do so much better. We can do better on the programming, we can do better on the event, we can do better on the art of it, like the presence of it. It was just actually it dawned on me. I checked our ticket sales. Like we had pretty full theaters for the most part. I think like the screening you attended was our least populated screening.
The
Friday 8:30 because of
probably
the Leafs game.
subtitles. Oh, and the Leaf game. Yeah, yeah,
It
sure.
was because of the Leafs game. We had 120 people who had tickets who did not show up.
Whoa, seriously?
120, yeah. 120. So, I mean, if all those people who had tickets had just shown up because the Blue Jays, the Heat, the nice weather,
Yeah.
the Leafs game, which a lot of people skipped out on the Leafs game. I also think we made a mistake because we announced that our first screening was sold out on Friday night.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people had that idea of like, I would love to support this festival, but if they're sold out, one person missing out is not going to make a big deal.
Right.
And I think that might have, killed a little bit of that because that sold out screening that was sold out for days and days had like 14 or 15 empty seats,
Right.
which sucks.
I,
But yeah, I think we can do so much more, and we will do so much more. I just think I know after doing this for 6 years how much planning goes into doing this correctly, and it's a lot, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. Like when
how
it goes right, it's so worth it.
how did the film? You called it a stoner comedy. What was it called?
The Saturday night one,
Yeah.
as we know it,
As,
it turned out great. Yeah, it turned out great. The turnout was really good for that, and it was paired with one of my favorite shorts. It's called Monkey Love, Please Hold. And it's about a guy who has a random delivery driver deliver a package that changes his whole life. And he tries to get on the phone with his credit card company. And he's trying to like return the package and trying to figure out where it went. So it was great. And that filmmaker, Greg Fox, he was at the screening, which was great. And then Josh, because it was his wife's birthday, he couldn't attend the festival with the feature. So we had him on a Skype call. And that was another thing. I was like, man, we could have done that for all the filmmakers. If we could have coordinated that in advance, we could have had literally all the filmmakers. If we just programmed our festival to give like a little bit more of a gap,
yeah.
we could have programmed Zoom calls with all the filmmakers after,
That's,
right? So
yeah.
like, and you're in the theater and you just watch like 4 films and you have all these questions about these films. But what the fuck was that about? And boom, now we Skype call, Skype call, Skype call, Skype call. Like we Skype call 4 people, and then boom, now you can ask those questions and they'll be able to hear you. And the interaction was great. Like it was great. And what was especially great, which I'm so glad I thought of it in that moment, was we had it was Josh's wife's birthday, so I had the entire theater say happy birthday, Anne. I think her name was Anne. And so everyone was like, happy birthday, Anne. And he got to like, and it was kind of funny because he's on a laptop and he screen grabbed it with his phone. These
Nice.
people on another laptop in another country saying happy birthday to his wife. And I thought that was a really cute moment for him as well. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Cool. Like being able to ask questions to the director of the short that from the film that we attended was very cool. You know, almost every movie I watch, I always have questions that I'm just like, I wish I wish the
Did you
filmmaker.
like the feature? Did you like Sweet Disaster?
Yeah, Sweet Disaster was fantastic,
How'd your wife feel about it?
and it was like it. Well, we'll say it didn't speak to like it spoke to us insofar as we just recently had a baby, so I could sympathize with the girl, um, because I saw my wife go through that stuff. Now she had a support system. She had me
Hmm.
here to help her with things. But like, yeah, inevitably, like if I wasn't around or something happened to me or whatever, we broke up, then like this would have been the shit that she needed to deal with alone. Um,
Right.
that's very relatable to a lot of people.
I wasn't in the theater when that film was playing. Now don't tell everyone because it's a big surprise about who the big star in that film is who pops out of nowhere. But did I get a big pop?
The big star who pops out of nowhere.
Don't
Who,
say it.
oh,
Baywatch.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
Really? Baywatch. No?
I
Did
never
you
watched
did you
Baywatch.
go to the washroom during that moment?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. No. Okay. I know who you're talking about now. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I could, yeah. That was definitely very, I couldn't believe,
Surprising.
yeah, that was a big, that threw us for a loop for a second. I was like, oh, he's actually featured. Okay, cool. Um,
Yeah, suddenly all the music made sense. Yeah, anyways, I mean, it was great on Saturday. I got to meet Larry Kane in person, which was really cool. He just happens to be a bit of a hero of mine just because of I mean, it's not just, the fact that he's an Olympic athlete. It's just who he is as a person. The fact that he's in 1,000 times better shape and, yeah, like he's got the right attitude towards life. And it was just so impressive to meet him. And then we also got to meet Jonathan, who's one of our moderators here. So it was like just a really cool event, and I was just very happy to see so many Pensar basketball people there. Um, yeah, it was really cool. Anyway, thanks for you're usually on at 2 a.m. We're at 2 a.m. now. That's
There,
funny. So instead of going from the middle to the end, you went from start to finish.
there you go.
This near marathon 3 hour thing. I am positive this is definitely one of the smoothest lives we've ever had, which makes me think that I'm just better at talking to people than I am at talking to a camera. So, yeah, thanks a lot for being on this, man.
Yeah, dude. No, I wanted the opportunity to talk. Dude, we talked about so much shit. We didn't even get to JJ Redick, but we'll save that. We'll save that for the next one. I usually agree with you on some things, but I disagreed on the JJ Redick thing. I think he would have been. I think he'd be a good coach for the Raptors. But let's save.
Even with the Fred thing, you're not just gonna leave me on that. Even with the Fred and Pascal like pre-existing relationships,
No,
if those relationships didn't exist, I'd be with you on that. I think he's a really smart guy, but I think it's just like,
Okay, I'll say this quickly. The reason I don't think it would matter is because coming into the NBA as a new head coach, where
Mhm.
he knows that he would have to prove himself because he quote unquote skipped the line, right? And I don't even or jump the line, whatever the term is. I
Yeah.
don't actually believe that you jumped. I think if you have 15 years of NBA experience, that's the experience.
That's
that
what Gilbert Arenas said, and
you,
and I kind of don't agree with it because look, like coaching is different than playing. I understand that playing in the NBA should count, like it should count as experience. I'm not saying he's inexperienced, but you also can't tell me that Sam Cassell hasn't learned some stuff as an assistant or Darvin Ham, his time,
and
being an assistant coach didn't prepare him. Like it's a completely different mentality seeing it from that. So knowing how to get yourself open doesn't mean you're great at managing egos. He's not a CEO. I mean,
no,
technically, he's kind of a CEO because he's the CEO of JJ Redick podcast, and I'm
he's
sure he deals with a lot of people.
that's for sure. He's a fucking boss, and he's got sway in the industry. And because he'd be coming into a new coaching situation, I don't think that he would be tethered to having to placate to Pascal and Fred. I feel like he would be more. He would be able to uh, parse his opinions on who they are as people in order to either get wins or to just improve the team if they went in a younger direction. I think he'd be smart enough to say, listen, if we get the number 3 pick and Anthony Simons for Pascal, and we can jumpstart a rebuild there. I think he would do that or I think he would agree to that in a heartbeat, and I think he'd be a good. I think he'd be a good coach for younger guys. He's incredibly insightful on his podcast and when he covers games live, right?
Hmm.
So usually, that like people like that usually kind of stick out a little bit more. Like to me, Mark Jackson doesn't come across as incredibly insightful. Um,
Really,
when
I mean,
not
I think he's a really insightful person. I have an issue with some of his politics.
Yeah, he just like the
If true, if true. Again, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I have never met Mark Jackson. I don't know what his thoughts are on you know, um, same sex marriage. But if his thoughts are that same sex marriage shouldn't exist, I don't think he has a place
oh
to coach in Toronto.
right. Yeah, no. I mean it's just like just from a basketball mind standpoint, I feel like JJ has a good um like a good ability to both see the game for what it is and communicate verbally. I think he's incredibly articulate. I think that's shown in his podcast. And I just think he also would have a sway with other like if we could ever get decent free agents to come in, I think a good starting point is having JJ as a coach because he's like universally respected across the league, and he's a fresh young voice. I don't know. I think they can do worse than him. I would rather go with him over a like I might take like Monty Williams over him just because he's so seasoned, right? But I would even
He's had like a 70% winning percentage, man. Like it's not even close.
no, of course,
Like, and Monty's an ex-player too, and Monty also has a ton of respect around the league. Like
totally.
I think if I told you at the beginning of the year that Monty Williams and JJ Redick are both available to hire as head coaches, I think your first question would be like, what's the question?
Well, my first question is, do we have a young team or do we have a team of vets? If it's a team of vets,
I think it's also worth mentioning you don't know what Monty Williams thinks about basketball because you don't listen to Monty Williams every week, right? There's no Monty Williams show. There's a Montel Williams show,
yeah,
but there's no Monty Williams, or there was a Montel Williams show, but there's no Monty Williams show. And I feel like if there were a Monty Williams show and he was equally as, charismatic as JJ, that he probably knows a hell of a lot more about basketball than JJ Redick. It's impossible for him not to at this point, having coached as long as he has and played as long as he has and been as smart a player. He also played under Popovich. He's really come under, like, he's coming for some good place to,
oh, I'm not arguing the merits of Monty Williams as a head coach. I think he's a great head coach, and I think that the next team to get him is going to be lucky. And if for whatever reason, the 2019 Raptors needed a head coach, and it was between Monty Williams and many other people, including JJ Redick, I would take Monty Williams in a heartbeat. But if they
Is that
are,
because JJ Redick was actually a player in 2019?
that's true. Um, and hey, that's another thing. He might get that 76ers gig. Although they're interviewing Nick Nurse now, so maybe he gets the gig. But
I think Joel Embiid would be ecstatic to go with him, and I think Daryl Morey is the type of person who would hire JJ Redick, actually.
yeah,
He really would. And in fact, because you see, like, egomaniacs love egomaniacs. There's something about it. Like, there's something very normalized when you have like someone who's just so, I don't know, full of themselves. I don't know.
do you think JJ is an egomaniac?
I do.
Yeah.
I do a little bit. Yeah, I do. There's a condescension to just the way he addresses everybody, which is just like, I know better than you, and he's kind of been he's been a bit like that since, quite frankly, since college.
Oh
He's
yeah.
always been a bit of a dick, right?
I
And
don't like.
he's
I don't.
airbrushed it because he's a good looking guy and he's really well spoken, and people really respect him or like him. And so, he's also very real. Like, he's also like, keep it very real guy. So I don't know.
I
But
don't like the part he plays on
ESPN.
either First Take or like whatever the argument show is when it's him and Stephen A. Smith. I don't like that character. That like to me it's more than it's a caricature like
Hmm.
that. But when he comes out with that, I don't like anyone on those shows. If I'm being completely honest, and I think that if when you get him in a more candid situation and he's talking more openly and honestly,
Hmm.
and he's not having to like choose one take and argue it to the death because that's what the fans want to see, then he's a lot more
He's
insightful.
definitely better on his own show, but I mean, that's not really saying much because his own show, his script, his producers, his edit, he can edit out everything. ESPN is where you see a little bit more of the reality of him, you know, I think,
Right.
because he's not in charge of editing that show. Um, it's hard to say anyone's likable on ESPN.
Yeah. Anyway,
But does someone actually come off as likable on ESPN? Yeah.
I like
Uh,
Jim. What's his ex-wife there? I can't remember her name right now.
Molly Kareem?
Yeah, I like her.
Really?
Like just because she doesn't take too many stances. Like she's kind of the one like
Moving over to you, Steven. What do
yeah.
you think, Max? Yeah, yeah, that's a lot of what she's there for.
Oh,
Um,
like
Unfortunately, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know what happened with Jalen. I don't know what happened with her and Stephen A. Smith, but the rumors were wild, man.
oh, I have no idea about any of this stuff. All
Ex
I knew
ex-wife.
Yeah, all I knew was that they were married at one point. That's all. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, all these guys, they get these like absolutely batty women, right? And then, they just kind of trade them up for someone with a little bit more money at some point. I don't know. Someone told me they were just like at one point they were just like powerful men get off on like sleeping with other people's wives.
Oh wow, I
And
didn't know that.
I've seen it. I've seen it for sure. In the hedge fund world. Um,
Right.
and these women they seem to be for it. It's kind of weird. Nevertheless, this conversation is completely delved into completely. This is what JJ Redick does, man. Look, I have no doubt that he's going to be a fantastic coach. I said it before. I'll say it again. I think he's going to be a really good coach at some point. I would just prefer. I really don't. I don't think that the Pascal and Fred thing is as small a deal as you might be thinking it is. And I
Right.
definitely don't think he'd be super open to trading away Pascal because I do think that, again, I think he'd want to win in his first year, and you're less likely to win if you trade away Pascal for Anthony Simons and a third overall pick.
Yeah, but he also saw what just happened last year,
Did you just
and
comment JJ for president? Ugh,
yeah.
why?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm trolling at this point.
Yeah.
Uh, no, the yeah, I don't know, man. I think uh, like he has an entire season's worth of a sample size to know that like if this is the team I'm inheriting back, and this is the team that his way out on his way out the door,
Hmm.
Nick said to Masai Ujiri, "Good luck with those guys."
I
He's gonna
wonder how that was said. It's really difficult to say, like, good luck with those guys. Some people say it was, in reference to the media. They were like, oh, they were talking about the media. Some people are saying, like, and I went back and I listened to the Masai part. It does not sound like he's talking about the media at all. It sounds like
start with the
he's
players.
actually saying good luck with those players, but
Yes.
he could have meant it sincerely too.
No. No way. No, he didn't. You're like Nick Nurse is like he's not. He's a snarky dude. Like he fucking argues after every goddamn call that's ever been made against him on a basketball court. I
You
guarantee.
just turn into like a Brooklyn Italian for a second there. He's a snarky guy. He just talks about everything. He's always talking shit about this guy and that guy. Fuck that guy. Yeah. Fuck that guy. Nick Nicky Nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean like in all honesty, like he is a little bit backhanded. He's a little bit flippant, but it's kind of weird to go back and listen to early Nick Nurse and how humble he was and how nice he was and just turned into a bit of a prick this past year, didn't he?
Yeah.
I feel like that's it. It happens. It happens. People turn into different people when I've always felt this way. Like you basically find out who people are when they have leverage. When you
Yeah.
don't have leverage, I don't know who the fuck you are. You
Right.
know, like you're desperate. You're just looking for a job. Yeah, you're gonna kiss my ass. You're gonna be really nice to me. But what happens when I hand it all over to you? Now who are you? And I feel like a lot of people show you who they are when they get a little bit of power. He showed us who he was. Um, of all the coaches this year, in terms of like how much they underperformed with the roster that they had, I think he is number one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he definitely didn't get a lot of help. I mean, I do feel for him insofar as when he gave his like interviews after another crushing defeat. The only thing that he could really say was just like, yeah, I mean, we got good lucks. They just didn't go down, and that was it was kind of true. And maybe sometimes those quote unquote good looks were were allowed by the opposing team, right? Like they got those good looks because those are the looks the other team wanted them to have. But yeah, it's a roster construction issue. So my only qualm is that they didn't go. If you knew you had a flawed roster, then just fucking lean into it and tank, and maybe get a Jarris Walker up top as opposed to, or not even Jarris Walker, like guarantee, like let's say Kobe Bufkin or Casey Wallace or any of those guards that
You might still get one of those guys. You still might.
you still might,
Leave
but
it to the teams ahead of you to fuck up. Like they will. They
so,
can. They always do. I've never seen a team pick perfect 1 through 12 ever. And so
so
someone's going to screw up. And if you're lucky, maybe 3 to 4 teams screw up, which
sure.
means that at 13 in all likelihood, if you go through the draft history, every single draft, and you say who was picked, who was available at 13, almost always there's an all-star available at 13. I will trust Masai Ujiri to identify that all-star, develop that all-star, and hopefully feature that all-star.
Fingers are crossed. Fingers are crossed.
Sometimes there are multiple all-stars available at 13. Man, look at the 1996 draft. Kobe Bryant was picked at 13. Peja Stojakovic was picked after him. Steve Nash was picked after him. That's 2 MVPs and a guy who finished top 4 in MVP voting. All available after 13. So if this draft is as great as you think it is with 10 All-Stars, I guarantee you at least 2 to 3 of those All-Stars will be available at 13, if not 4 or 5.
Hey man, I got my fingers crossed, but I'm definitely hoping that that Portland. I'm hoping that Portland finds, like, I truly think that Pascal is the best option for them over, like, unless Joel Embiid or whatever comes up. I don't think that's going to happen.
Joel Embiid, they're not going to trade Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, like, people have been rumoring, like, oh, if Harden leaves, then Joel might, whatever. Like, I don't think
demand a trade. Well, if he demands a trade, you're definitely going to be giving up a lot more than third overall pick to get the MVP, the reigning MVP in his prime. Like, the gap in trade value between Joel Embiid and Pascal Siakam, you'd have to trade 2 Pascal Siakams to get like half a Joel Embiid.
Well, but barring a superstar like that becoming available, I do think that for the cost, I think the cost is going to be Simons and 3 plus filler, right? People are talking actually about not even including Simons, which is bugging me a little bit, because, like, you at least want Simons in case, like, so let's say you get 3 and you get Brandon Miller and he's a fucking bust, then you need at least some.
I don't think if he's a bust, the Raptors would pick him at 3. I think they would vet that very carefully.
Right.
So, I mean, if Brandon Miller is the obvious consensus number 3 pick and he is going to be a bust, I trust the Raptors to pick whoever the hell the 4th player is.
Right.
And not go with groupthink. They didn't do it with Scottie. They didn't do it with Pascal over Scala Bissier. They don't do that. They don't fall into the groupthink. They have their own draft board. They're independent thinkers. I'm not gonna tell you that they don't have Victor number 1. They probably do. They probably have Scoot number 2. But I think we'd all be wildly surprised at who they have number 3. It might be Anthony Black. It might be Cason Wallace. It might be, Emin Thompson. It might be Azar Thompson. Like, we don't know if Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller might be 2 on the draft board for the Raptors. I have no idea. I don't know what the Raptors are thinking right now. But I do know that historically they have prioritized two-way impact. I know they have prioritized, athleticism, hand size, wingspan, youth, playmaking, size. That all being said, Kobe Bufkin fits a lot of boxes for this team.
He checks a lot of boxes.
He does. And he also perfectly replaces the guy that you probably end up losing this offseason, which is Gary Trent Jr. So yeah, I think that could be a very interesting player for the Raptors, and I think he will be available at 13.
My fingers are crossed. Let's talk more. Let's talk more at a later date. Let me know about these lives when you're gonna put them up. Like, shoot me a mess. Well, whatever. You can't fucking message everybody, but, like, if you happen to remember it.
I still want to do the top 125 player draft at some point. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I just need 4 people to commit, myself included. So, like, 2 other people. Because if you do a draft like what we just did right here, but, like, really well researched, and, like, we all have a draft board of 125, and as players get picked, we just keep crossing off our list, and we just see, like, who the top 125 players are. I'm very curious to see where the Raptors go. Like, more than anything, I'm very curious to see, like, is OG a top 50 guy? Is he a top 40 guy? Or is he a top 65 guy? Is Pascal going to go top 25? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it would be interesting. I think that would be a really cool thing. I would love to do it with you and Christopher, Christian, who's been on a few times, and, like, one other person. I think, like, maybe Coach Mo. I think that would be just really great.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. All right, man. Have a good one.
You too,
have a good night. Peace. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, bro.
Adios.
Till next time.
All right. See ya.
Yeah, pal.
All right. And, oh man, for the first time, in the whole live. I'm big on the screen. Thank you all for joining in. Hit like on your way out. There's still 105, 106 of you in here. If you can all hit like, I'm sure those likes would explode, probably well past where they are right now. And someone asked on the last live to put timestamps. These are really, really rambling lives. I promise that we will get into more structured stuff in a week. I am still decompressing from Pendants, still doing some editing stuff, just doing these lives for fun at this point. But you'll see a little bit more structure and video and graphics and, stats and all that stuff come into those lives. And when the lives have more of a point, I promise I'll start adding more timestamps. Someone's saying someone's going to pick Jarris Walker too early. Probably. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good one and peace.